All right, welcome to League of Legends patch 13.10, the game where everything changes, nothing is sacred, and anything you like will eventually be gone. And this could not be any more true in this patch because this one has it all. Pointless changes, contradictory changes, deceptive content, and head-scratching direction they want to take the game. My name is Chris, and joined with me today is only my friend Jason.
Hey Chris, hey everyone, I'm happy to be here for 1310. You weren't kidding when you said everything changes. And I don't know. I think that there's probably some type of Riot developer out there that's listening to this, and they heard you bitch and complain every single patch about how everything changes, nothing is sacred, and everything you like will eventually be reworked. And they said, you know what? Fine. We're gonna rework everything.
Yeah.
I think that's how 1310 came about. More seriously, we'll talk a little bit about how I think maybe some of the changes were intended in this very large, sweeping manner, where we have 100 different item changes at once. But yeah, let's get into it. There's some interesting stuff here.
Yeah, like I was saying a week ago, it's been 6 months since they changed half the game, so it's about that time where they need to change half the game. This is merely durability update version 2.0, so they have a rationalization for the next 3 to 6 months of changes, basically. And, all right, let's... First up, we got some odd, interesting, just ancient-ass stuff that they've decided to touch up. We got the fountain here, which brings your mana back faster. I wasn't even sure what the rate for this even was. This has got to be something that's like 12 years old.
Yeah, I don't even have anything to say about the mana. I think the home guard timer is a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, you are right about that. This is kind of an attempt over time where they like to shift Summoner's Rift to closer resemble ARAM over the last several years. They just want to constantly encourage more conflict because that is more exciting in the pro scene than watching Koreans win with 3-0 score.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is gonna matter that much for combat. It's very rare that
It's not about
inside.
combat, it's about getting to positions where more conflict's likely to happen faster.
Right. I guess I'm talking about where you're actually trying to get to a combat. You're usually not going to have your home guard buff on um, when you get to combat before 20 minutes, maybe at 25, 30, 35 minutes when there's people inside your base and you need to be there right now. That's a big deal. As far as the 14 to 20 range, usually you're just kind of running back onto the map, maybe trying to get to an objective fight or a little tussle in the jungle. Most of the time you're just running back to lane. And for that reason, I'm kind of a little surprised they don't just basically set the home guard timer to 0. What do you think about that?
You think home guard should just always be active?
Yeah, I think so, because it's kind of boring just walking for 38 seconds down the lane.
My personal preference is if they brought the 5 boot enhancements back. This was one of them, and you had to buy home guard on your boots like in 5 or 6 years ago.
That was before anyone got it for free at any point, right?
Yes, and it was
And I
something
remember there were a
something
lot of high level
unique.
players bought that. I never bought that. I was
You're
like, you
right.
need a combat set.
I liked the I don't know what it was called, like Furor or Fury, the one where attacks or single target spells increased your movement speed by like 12% for a few seconds. That one was really good. And then there was like Captain and Alacrity, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought those were really cool, and in fact, I was very surprised by how short a time that they were in the game for, only like a year or two.
Yeah, I thought the enchantments on the boots were cool too.
I wouldn't mind them bringing that back along with a new pair of boots. It's about time we got a new. We haven't had a new pair of boots since the cooldown boots.
Chrissy needs a new pair of shoes.
That's right. Something better than magical footwear.
Yeah. All right. How
Yeah.
about these jungle plants?
Oh, one last thing about home guard. I
Yes.
know this is the last change on this thing, but this probably has something to do with the reduction in the cooldown of teleport, which is at the very bottom of this change.
Oh, interesting.
because this
So I think
probably interacts with with the super teleport and regular teleport.
well, they made they made the enhanced teleport more forgiving, right? Yeah. So now you can start doing that at 10. Um,
I'm so
I don't
glad I'll
know.
be able to use it a second time.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any common thread between this and the home guard timer besides just they want you to get back to lane quicker in general.
I think they just shift the game closer to ARAM. I think that's what they want to do.
I mean, I think if they're taking out, essentially boring downtime where you're literally just walking through the lane and waiting for your champ to get there, and probably typing GG into the chat
Uh,
3 times on your way.
that isn't boring
Um,
downtime. That's the penalty of your death timer that an enemy
well,
team plays around.
essentially, yes. Like the good part, right, is that you can have the time off of the map as a strategic element to work with. The bad thing is, it's just that many seconds of boring gameplay for the person just walking back to lane. The
Okay,
two things true at once.
probably shouldn't be spending 15 minutes talking about home guard since no one even knows it's in the game.
Yeah, I mean, by the time that we finish talking about home guards, everyone will already have their home guard buff.
Right, you are. Next up, we got the blast cone, and this seems almost contradictory from the home guard change. What do you think about this? Does this just make counter jungling less annoying in the early game? This is the only thing I would think it has a reason to be this
Yeah.
early.
So this is the first time that they spawn, is somewhere between 9 and 9:30, depending on the blast cone, or is this the respawn timer once you activated it? This is the
Uh,
first one, right?
this is definitely the first one.
Okay. So yeah, I think that the purpose here is actually about vision denial, essentially. If you look much later, we'll talk about like the Oracle lens, for example. They nerfed vision denial there in a really stupid way. We'll get to that. But I think the intention here is the blast cones are often used to bypass where you would normally put the wards to see somebody coming into your lane, particularly in the bot lane.
That's not my
And
take on it.
yeah, I think that's what they're trying to do here.
My take
And
on
then
it is this
you also have-
makes.
Go on.
I think it just makes early jungle invading more difficult because they've pushed it down, or they pushed it up from such an early amount of time. This old time is when people would be in the laning phase at like level 2 and 3 or stuffing, and that's
Uh-huh.
definitely right when you would start getting like jungle invaded. And if you pushed it back to 9 or 9:30, that's probably closer when people have like their ultimates now.
Yeah, a really good farmer will have their ultimate around 8 to 9 minutes. I think generally in mid-level play it'll be more like 10 or 11. But no, I think it's actually a vision change. Basically, when before the supports get their sight zone, essentially where they finish their 500 gold on their vision quest, there are very few wards on the map. And I think that probably the intention was there was too little vision. It was too easy for junglers to come in and turn a lane immediately with an early gank. The fact that they won't be able to use the blast cones to get around deep vision is, to me, almost certainly the intended change here.
Maybe it's both.
Could be, right? It does do both of those things at once.
Okay, next up we got some convoluted shenanigans here.
Oh
I
my
don't really
God, yeah.
care about this first one. I want to talk about the second one. But let's talk
Okay.
about the thing with the waves and move or whatever. What's that mean?
You're asking me the first one or the second one?
The first one.
So the first one is, for some reason, not including the first wave. The side lane minions will make it from the Nexus to the place where they meet in the lane as quickly as the mid lane minions will. In the past, the mid lane minion wave would get there first, and so the mid laner could clear their wave and then start roaming somewhere else, while the waves were still crashing in the sidelines. And they've decided to get rid of that, except on the first wave, and except after 14 minutes.
Yeah, whatever. No one's even gonna know what the hell this is doing.
Yeah, this is really making it harder for mid laners to roam, is what it's doing.
You think so?
Yeah, and it's also going to equalize the speed with which ADCs and top laners reach level 6 as compared to mid laners, making it even less effective when the mid laner roams at 6.
you say so.
I do say so.
All right, now this next
Um,
one I think is actually
yeah.
a lot more interesting because there is this. My friend Matt, God rest his soul, actually taught me this about 2 or 3 years ago when he was playing a shitload of Garen. I
Uh-huh.
suppose I knew that this was always the case, but until he consciously told me about it, I didn't know about this
Mhm.
trick where if you have a huge minion crashing, like say you're laning top lane, you're playing like Garen
Yep.
against Darius or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and you have a huge minion wave crashing against the enemy turret, and the enemy champion's under their own turret, and there's like 20 minions in front of them all hitting the turret. All you have to do to make them take a lot of damage is not hit their enemy turret, not hit the enemy champion. You just walk around until they basically can't help but auto attack you once, and then all of the minions will switch from attacking the turret to hitting the enemy champion. And what this does is it's going to make it so that can't happen anymore once they begin attacking a tower now. And this was the first thing I thought
That's
about
interesting.
when my friend Matt taught me this.
I mean, I feel like if you're, walking into turret range with as a Garen against like a Darius or something, and you make him auto attack, he's probably gonna pull you in and mush you.
Well,
But yeah,
that's the
you,
thing. As long as you don't auto attack him,
right,
nothing will really happen to you, and he'll take a really bad trade,
right. Obviously,
essentially.
he gets three shots on you, but if you're way ahead, oh man, so you're saying like 25 minions just turn around and start plinging him,
Yeah, that's.
and that won't happen
Uh,
anymore.
I used
Yeah,
this so many times after my friend Matt taught me this. It's hilarious, because it's like so many people just
and you
don't
get a lot of
know.
just kills under turret that way.
It's more of like a pressure move than a kill
Uh huh.
move, because
I
if
see.
they're low enough to dive, they're not gonna, let you do what you do. But so many
Yeah.
people don't realize how the minion AI works, and they'll fall into the trap of hitting you and
Right. Right.
making the minions come running. So it's
So just to reset for anyone listening, basically anytime that the minions are not already firing on a champion, and an enemy champion hits you, all of your ally minions there hits you with an auto attack or a targeted ability.
anything.
Yeah, all of your friendly minions will turn around and start attacking that champion. That's really important for things like trading in lane. Um, but now what's going to happen is if you get the minions and they all the way to their turret and they start firing on the turret. Now, if the enemy champion targets you, those minions will just stupidly keep firing on the turret and basically not do their jobs
It's
anymore.
probably a good thing, as that maneuver is
Yeah,
kind of oppressive against
it was a
someone
little bit
who's
cheesy.
already.
Yeah.
But boy, I'm gonna miss that one. It was a cute trick. Okay, next up we got something that's been in the game for literally 14 years, and
Turrets.
this is how the game differentiates how mages versus AD carries do damage to
Oh,
turrets.
yeah.
Here,
Hmm.
pretty much all they did was combine the entire formula instead of saying this or that. So this didn't actually really change at all. It's just I guess going to be slightly better for hybrid champions, but few of them are even
Exactly.
in the game.
Yeah. This is just a straight up buff to anybody building both bonus AD and AP.
Yeah, not much to say. It's still going to work exactly the same if you're on the high end of either of those.
Yep.
Okay, next up, I like this change. Now the towers receive bonus armor even if only one person is around, whereas before you need at least two champs for them to get actual armor. So this is definitely going to slow down ye old backdoor shenanigans, timeless that they are,
Oh, I see.
a bit.
Yeah. That's what's happening. And remember that after a plate goes down, no matter how many enemy champions are near it, it also gets resistances for, um, I think permanently, right? Based on how many plates have been taken until 14 minutes. And so the resistance that this is talking about, I think, is temporary. It's for like 30 seconds based on how many champions are there. So yeah, if you have four people wailing on a turret, it won't go down quickly. And this just makes the turret plates more hardy in general.
Me I think anything that slows down the game for the most part is better design.
It can feel so hard to actually take that if you don't have like a quick auto attacker in the early game. Like the plates go down so slowly. But yeah, I
I
don't
think
hate to
that's
see that.
good in the beginning of the game.
I'm fine with it. If you have like a really, if four people come down and wipe you 4v2, you're gonna be able to get back to your turret now, before like four or five plates are taken.
Okay, next up we have some incredibly important balance changes for some champions here. We decided to go back in the time machine of the 2009 late beta stage development cycle of League of Legends with this one.
Yeah, back when we had champions like Akshan and Callista and Kindred.
Well, my point is that they're just giving a bunch of meaningless AP ratios to champions that don't scale with AP, like the
Yeah,
good old Ashe Ultimate argument.
yeah. I
Uh,
mean, do you
most of
want
these are
you want to
super
go through
stupid.
individually, or do you want to just like take it as one?
Uh, let's just sum
Like,
it up. Action,
okay,
Callista, Kindred, Vayne, it's all fucking pointless.
yeah.
The good
What?
news is that a few days ago they gave AP scaling to Vayne's silver bolt damage, but someone who was had that 12th brain cell over at Riot decided that was really stupid, so they did get rid of that because that was going to scale her
Talking
max
about
health true damage.
yeah.
Yeah, the max
Um,
health part that was going to scale with like AP for some reason.
what is the point of this? Is it Rageblade?
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so.
Why do we need to like? Yeah.
I guess they decided since it has AD on it now, and now it still is the thing that repeats your on-hit effects, that it might as well give AP, so it does stuff for these champions. They only chose like a few here. They could have made this change for like 30 different champions if they wanted to.
Yeah. Or they could have just taken
So
the AP off of Rageblade and added 5 AD and done the same exact thing that way.
that's true.
Uh,
Just some more head
it's a
scratching
weird thing.
nonsense. Okay,
Yeah.
on to the important stuff
Are there
here.
any other items that Akshan, Callista, Kindred, or Vayne would build with AP?
No, not really.
I can't think of any.
But when we
So
get
there
to
you
the
go.
item changes, I have a pretty big argument that I'm going to make.
Gotcha. All right, now let's quickly hit Nico.
And this I was happy to see because if you remember, one of the things I was bitching about the most when she got that really cool passive was how much she lost
Yeah.
from her ultimate. So they
Yeah.
gave almost all of
Do
that
the AP
back.
rate you were
So
talking about.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
And then they helped her jungle because, like you thought, I guess they think she'd be jungling. I still don't
It was
think
that
that she
point
should be
turning for
jungling
her.
for the most part.
Yeah, I know that you were very much into she's going to be mostly a support now.
That's what I've
But
seen.
yeah, I don't know. Actually, I haven't seen her once. Honestly,
Yeah,
I've
right.
been playing a little the last few weeks, and
I
I saw her get picked once in a lobby, and that lobby someone dodged, it just dissolved. So I have not seen her in game since her rework.
Yep. As I suspected, it was a real cute change, but it's so niche that people are gonna have a hard time actually rationalize, using it a lot.
Uh
And
huh.
her kit's still consistently cheesy enough to be a good support still. So I have seen the goofy people where people pretend to be minions. It is pretty funny.
That
Uh,
sounds pretty fun.
it
Just
is
a
cute.
funny thing about Nico, she has this quote that I couldn't tell for a long time what she was saying. I think it's Nico is on her fourth tail. And every time I tried to listen and like, what did she say? I heard Nico is for sale.
Okay.
So that paints her in a very different light.
Well, I didn't take that into consideration. Okay, now we move on to the real crazy shit. Now, for the most part, it seems that they have modified pretty much every single 80 carry item and assassin item in the game, with a couple exceptions, with a small amount of tank items here and support items there. But I
Hmm.
have to say, about straight up half of these changes are such nitpicky bullshit nonsense that they wouldn't have even needed to bother. And they just make the slightest bit of adjustments to so many of these items. that a lot of them aren't even really worth talking about.
Interesting. So you think what they've done a lot here is rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic?
No, I do think there's some wildly crazy implications to half of these changes. I also
Uh-huh.
think the other half, though, are just nitpicky nonsense just so they could change shit around for no reason.
Okay.
I do
I
think
guess.
there's some crazy implications. When we get into the first big one, I'll make my argument.
Yeah, I guess you'll give me some examples as we go along. For me, there were like, if I had to just like work this out in reverse from the changes they made to why did they make them. I think there were a few things that were just like tank or support items that like the tanks, it was like they were trying to avoid fighters splashing into tank items. Um, and what they should have just done there was stop making some of those tank items so ridiculously OP. The support items, I actually like a lot of what they did, at least in
Yeah,
their intent.
it's not all bad.
Yeah,
There's some stuff
and
I
then
like.
yeah, and then like some of the other items that they were doing, I think they were trying to avoid kind of one item crowding out another similar item. And I feel like one item crowding out another item is almost a necessary evil of this game, especially when they have a system like Mythics where you have to choose one or the other. Well, if you build one, you can't build the other. And obviously they changed around like which items are Mythics, but I think they're going to have the same problem pre and post.
Oh, I think
Um,
there's a much larger problem that's on the horizon. They have uncorked a genie that they're going to be dicking with for months now.
is it something very specific, or is it just the balance is going to be really bad?
Both.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I mean later.
Well, stop burying the lead. Tell us what the specific problem is going to be.
I'll tell you when we get to the first one. That's part of like this quartet of shenanigans.
All
I'll
right.
let you in on my master plan. For,
Okay.
okay, first up we got Abyssal Mask. What do we got? We got no more mana. I think that's the big standout. There's very few mana items in the game now that you can like logically get since they removed mana potions, made everyone's mana pool higher, and all that kind of crapola.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tanks can't
And
really buy a mana item.
right. The mana item is mostly there in Lost Chapter and its upgrades, which can provide a lot.
Do tanks buy
But
that,
obviously,
Jason?
a tank is yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, a tank is never going to build
Yeah,
Lost
and
Chapter.
it just feels real bad to buy Frozen Heart in its current state. No one wants to buy a tank item that don't got HP, so feels
Right.
bad.
Right.
Anyway, it still kept its magic pen-esque shenanigan stuff, but I don't really, I don't know. I liked the Eternity thing on Abyssal Mass, so I'm not really a fan of this. They made it dirt cheap, so it's almost like a support item now, which I guess is nice.
I mean, this is going to be pretty good against heavy magic compositions. Now that it's 60 magic resist and only 2,400 gold.
Actually,
Um,
Abyssal Mask might factor into my grand conspiracy that I'm coming up here with.
The weird thing is, like, this is an item that reduces their magic resistance. How many champions that really want to like blow you up with magic damage are also building magic resistance? I can think of like, well, zero, maybe one, maybe Vladimir.
You buy this for your allies. You don't buy it for yourself.
Right. But again, it's like not like you're itemizing against a specific type of champion, right? You build it for your magic doing allies, but then you also build it against magic dealing enemies. It's a little bit weird.
I don't think it's overly contradictory.
Yeah, it's not contradictory. It's just it's two like completely separate goals in this item. Either way, if you see a lot of magic on the other team or a lot of magic on yours, this doesn't look bad. Maybe even as tank support.
I think it's going to be a hit.
No, nobody buys items for their allies.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. What was I thinking?
Next.
That countered my argument in a hurry. All right, next up we got Arden Sensor.
Yeah.
It's barely different, hardly worth talking about. It's a little cheaper. The effects are slightly better. That's about it. The AP
well, you get a
is
lot less
even
AP
more
now.
pathetic. So, as
Yeah.
if it wasn't pathetic enough, at this point I'd rather have 0 AP if I got more healed and shield power.
Yeah, I mean, I think this will be better now for like the the more like defensive heal shield supports. Someone like
This
Soraka is gonna have an easier time buying this.
this has got to be like
Um,
the cheapest legendary item in the game now. Pretty
um,
right up there with the
there a
staff of
lot of
flowing garbage.
aren't there a lot of 2100 support items though?
I think most of them are like 22, 23, 24. 21's
Okay,
pretty damn cheap.
at 100 gold discount, man. All right, yeah. Defensive heal and shield supports. Go for Ardent Sensor.
Okay, pretty much we can skip over Bork. Just nonsense, I guess.
Yep.
And then Bloodthirster. No more giant shield. Now it's basically just got more stats. I kind of thought it was, unpopular enough for it to just keep both of these, honestly. That would have been cool. I'm glad they put the lifesteal back up because that's what this is supposed to be, is the big ticket lifesteal item. And it has been nerfed a few times now.
This is still okay. Yeah. This oh, the conversion is what they got rid of. Yes.
Yeah, I think they could have kept both, and I don't think it would have been bad to be, or would have been too broken, to be honest.
Right. Yeah. This doesn't give you any type of defense from your lifesteal. Or I mean, it's an item that has the lifesteal on it still,
Uh,
but it doesn't give you any type of defense from your lifesteal anymore. You just get more attack damage and therefore, I guess, more lifesteal. But you don't really need that if you're above 50% health anyway.
Losing the shield is a bummer, but having something that's just a pure stat stick that gives you like 95 AD is, you can't really put a value on stats that bloated in this day and age when everything gives you like 50.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, 40 bonus AD is nice.
It is nice. Unfortunately, you don't
This
get
is,
it at level 1. That'd be extra busted.
it's almost like the like this and what is it called? The lifeline item that all the crit the immortal.
Shield bow.
Sorry.
Shield bow.
Yes, the immortal shield bow. Thank you. It's almost like this and the shield bow are like the inverse and the obverse of the same coin. This is giving you more damage and therefore more lifesteal when you're high on health, and then the shield bow, as you get lower on health, will then give you the bonus attack speed. So it's kind of weird. I wonder whether some champs will get some good use out of using them both together.
I think stats don't lie, so they're still
Hmm.
synergistic.
Is that what Shakira said?
Who?
I'll take that as a no.
Uh, yeah, I mean, you can't argue with raw numbers, so they're not going to be bad together. And more
Always hard to
lifesteal,
argue with AD.
yeah. And more lifesteal is more lifesteal.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next up, we got some deceptive new content here. They're not fooling a damn soul. They didn't. Second I
Welcome
saw
back,
this,
Chalice of Harmony.
this is definitely Chalice of Harmony. And later, they thought they fucking fooled everyone. They brought back Athene's Unholy Grail, gave it the old plated steel caps treatment, though. Gave it some new goofy ass name because this is new content, though. Like I've been saying for 10 years, 90% of new content's recycled old content.
What do you think of Chalice of Harmony's return?
I feel like they brought. Well, we'll talk about the big version of it later.
Uh-huh.
But gist of it is, they basically brought it back even stronger than it used to be. So I'm happy with it. I don't think they ever should have taken it out of the game, to be honest. It was cool, and it had like 10 people who were good at using it, and or so.
I think
There
this
were
is
some
a terrible
people.
item.
There were some people that were really good at using. Are you talking about just Chalice of Harmony?
Yes.
Okay,
I think
well,
this
yeah.
is a terrible item.
No one cares about this thing. It's like no one cares about Hex Drinker. You want Maw. No one
You're
cares
li-
about
yeah.
Chalice of Harmony. You
You're
buy
literally
it.
not getting any more stats beyond what's already in the Ruby Crystal and the Fairy Charm, and a little bit of health regeneration, which most of the kind of like poke supports that want a lot of mana regeneration don't really. They have very low health regeneration in the first place, and so 300% of zero is still zero.
Yeah, you're right.
Percentage-based health regeneration ain't gonna do jack shit for them.
You're absolutely
So-
right.
Yeah, if you're building this up to Echoes of Helia, or Mikhail's Blessing, or Redemption, which are the three items this will build into, I feel like on all of those, you're probably gonna want to like complete your other basic items first, and this last.
Probably.
Yeah. Um, I hope they make this cheaper and just make the upgrades, commensurately more expensive. I hope they take this to like 800,
What they need to
and
do
then
is
maybe more buy it.
bring back an item called Mana Manipulator and just give that the same thing as this. You remember
Even I
Mana
don't remember
Manipulator?
that. No, no, sir.
What it did is it gave you, it was an aura item, but it was, you could
Uh,
start the game with it, and it gave you and everyone around you flat mana regen.
yeah, that would be cool.
It
They've
is, yeah,
that will never come back. At least in its flat mana regen form. They've gotten rid of flat health and mana regeneration on items entirely from the game.
yep.
They're like, if we don't want your champ to have that, we're not going to let you have any way to have your champ have that.
It's still on a couple things.
Flat or percentage?
Flat. Like it's
Oh,
still on
like the orange shield you're talking
yeah,
about?
it's still on like Doran
Yeah,
Shield
I
and
guess
probably
so.
some other things.
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
Those are pretty minuscule.
Next up, we got Chem Tech Purifier. I think this is
Putrefier,
probably
man.
whatever. It's probably the least bought Grievous Wounds item in the game, honestly. Because if you're AP, you're probably just going to get Morellonomicon instead of this garbage ass shit. But if you're a dirt poor support, you'll probably still just sit on Oblivion Orb.
Yeah, that's true. Oblivion Orb has the same percentage now.
Yep.
In the past, I mean, you could basically bring Grievous Wounds to your whole team. If you were like a Sona or a Karma or someone like that, that could shield everybody at once. And therefore, it was a really good item on a couple of champs. Now it's just kind of a mediocre item on all supports. If your team is being too stupid and too stubborn to bring the Grievous Wounds, at least this item lets you do it yourself.
Yep. Not much to say about it.
Yeah,
Probably just want it to be garbage so they'll have an excuse to replace it with something else.
well, I would say these changes are net neutral, even slightly positive, just because it's less expensive.
Yep. Okay, next up we got Divine Sunder with its 15th nerf. Regardless of it being nerfed into the ground a million times, it'll always retain its value, in my opinion, just by nature of how it functions. This is definitely a hit, and this is going to make it even more like of an afterthought to have on anyone ranged now, like Senna, Ezreal, God knows what else. Stuff like that. There are a couple champions this is probably going to actually be a buff in the early game. Champions like Olaf, Alawi, Darius, Vi, who have very high base AD and very high AD at 18. This is probably actually going to be somehow a buff to them. But overall, for most champs, this is going to be a nerf.
Yeah, I mean, everything you're saying makes sense. I've always had a little bit of a hard time figuring out fighter items. So this one has always like bewildered me a little bit because it didn't seem like it should be a good item, but it's a really good item.
The gist of it is it's still going to be good on its core users. It's just going to
Yeah.
suck on everyone who wasn't already building it.
You think maybe that's what they were trying to do? Basically, keep it to its core users, and then for everybody else, bring it in line with the power that other items bring.
Yeah, probably. It's going to look kind of unsatisfying to build this on Ezreal. All AD carries have terrible base AD and terrible AD at 18. So yeah, it's going to be a lot less oomph. So
All right.
you're still going to want to build it on like Camille, who's probably the best with this item in the game, and a few other people. So worry not. It's still good.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely still a feasible item. I think we've seen too much of it, so I'll be glad to see less.
Okay, next up we got our first huge change here. A lot of these assassin items actually got kind of interesting, I must say. I have nothing but positive things to say about.
Ooh, okay.
I think all of them. This one's pretty interesting. Finally, gone are the days of Master Yi taking this item and just or any. There were so many people taking Dustblade, and I do think it's just annoying for them to just constantly go invisible every second. Now, instead of going invisible, they actually just become untargetable. Think like Senna's E. That's what this is going to look like. You'll see her, but you won't really be able to interact with her. Kind of like a
Yeah.
combination of Gwen
Or a
and
Kali in her shroud.
Gwen. Well, she can still be hit by things. If you're,
I think that's what they're doing here. You're untargetable. You can still be hit.
Oh yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, like kind of, I guess like kind of like Gwen.
Yeah.
Anyway, but then the big thing about this is it doesn't reset on takedown constantly like the old one, so you only get this
Yes, it
fade.
does.
You only get this fade away once. No, it
No.
doesn't.
10-second cooldown.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. So maybe you'll be able to use it twice in a long fight, but yeah, you won't be able to do it with every single takedown you get.
Yeah, but this almost certainly synergizes with things like Ingenious Hunter and Arcane Brilliance or whatever the hell, Cosmic Insight, whatever the hell that thing's called. So
Yeah.
you can probably get this thing down to like 6. So
So is this a straight nerf, or is there anybody who's going to be think it's better because of their abilities doing more damage?
this one in particular, the changes to Yumu's Ghostblade, I think are gonna really push out the rest of the mythics that all of the AD assassins and then all of the people who like to LARP as AD assassins go for. So yeah, the Yumu in particular, I think, is going to push out even Dustblade because well, we'll get to that when we get to it. But Nature, yeah, this is going to be really good. I mean, the missing health thing is definitely gonna be awesome. I
Yeah,
mean, this
and I think,
this literally screams Zed. I mean,
right, and I think becoming untargetable instead of actually being invisible or stealthed is just a much more fair way to handle getting the protection or the ability to dodge essentially within the fights.
yeah, anything to stop Master Yi from using this. Although he probably will still use it, but I think he'll be less incentivized to take this now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do you like this?
Yes, I do like this. I think again that it's untargetability is more fair. My instinct is that they may have made it a little bit too weak by getting rid of the invisibility and getting rid of the bonus damage, which was a couple hundred damage. I mean, that's more than maybe an average of 7% extra damage on your abilities.
That ratio is terrible. I don't think you can put a price on missing health damage.
You can definitely put a price on it. It's 7%.
What?
I think they may have made this a little bit too weak, but overall, I like the direction.
This is like making your abilities do more than like Vladimir's ultimate, essentially, is one way to think about it. When someone's already low. What is this maxed out at?
15% more damage. If it did 400, now it does 460. And that's only 460 if they're at 1% HP. I think you're overrating the power of this execute.
Missing health damage is powerful.
I mean, it's not powerful if the ratio is 3%. Think about Vagar's. Like, Vagar's does 100% more if they're low on HP.
Yep. I think anything that amplifies damage is a very powerful effect in the game.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, yeah, let's move
Next up, we got Athene's Unholy Grail 2. Still has garbage stats. Don't worry, they didn't forget about that aspect of it. But the new thing is now it also does damage as well as healing people. Now, I gotta admit, the first time I read this, I had to actually read it about 25 times to understand how this worked, but I did eventually figure it out.
Yeah, that is a big problem with all of the whoever is working on items. It clearly has like this obsession with stacks, and stacks are not a bad mechanic, but they tend to basically make it unclear or unintuitive when an item is going to do what it's going to do, and what exactly that item is even doing. And so to have so many different items in the game that stack up over time or stack up with each hit and then consume their stacks or stay on until you're out of combat, it's very messy design. And I had to look at this one 2 or 3 times as well to understand exactly what it was going to do. It's kind of a neat effect. Go ahead and talk about it.
First off, hard to believe this is even a mythic. It's
Hmm.
definitely not strong enough to do that. And secondly, I feel like as cool as this looks, I think it might be a bit of a flop because if you want to get like the actually utilize the damage component of this item, you're gonna actually be consciously foregoing actually healing people basically a bunch,
Why is that?
because to charge it, you have to hit the enemy with abilities or
Hmm.
basic attacks, and to discharge
Right.
it, you have to heal or shield an ally. So you have to do
Right.
one but not the other if you want to get more shards. Because if you just keep
Uh,
discharging it, it's only going to do 30 damage basically.
I disagree, and let me explain why. So this is, first of all, you can only stack up to 2 shards. Unlike the old Athene's Holy Grail, or should we call it Holy Grail, Unholy Grail 1, which actually required you to stack it up with a lot of different hits.
Wait
Basically,
a
the
minute.
amount of stacks you got on the old Unholy Grail were,
Oh, they changed this
yeah,
from the last time I read this. At one point on the PBE, this went up to 100 stacks. Now
you
it's just
completely cut out. I don't know if that was Discord and maybe you recorded okay and I'm not,
what
but
what I
all I
said.
heard was Alien from Outer Space.
What I said was at one point on the PBE, this item had 100 stacks in it. They changed it to 2. I didn't notice that till just now.
Okay. So yeah, you can only have 2 stacks. The old Unholy Grail actually stacked based on the damage that you dealt. So you needed to be able to do a considerable amount of damage in order to stack it to any significant amount. Now I think you're looking at champs more like Soraka, right? Who stacks it with her Q, which she wants to hit anyway because that makes her W less expensive, and then utilizes it with her W. Sona, who can hit 2 different enemies at once. I'm not sure whether that'll be 2 stacks or not. And is constantly using that within a fight, and then just using the W. You're spamming skills on Sona, even if you don't actually need, for example, the heal or shield once you get into these team fights, so you can charge up your power chords. Karma might be a good example. Morgana to some extent. I think a lot of supports. I don't think any mid laner is going to want to use this just because it's a mythic item and its AP is so crappy. Even if you're like a supportive mid laner, like a Morgana or something like that, I don't think you're going to want this as your mythic. But as a support, I could see it.
Yeah,
You basically, yeah.
just so my argument was this is a lot different than how this was on the PBE several days ago. This actually now looks busted. Before, several days ago, this went up to 100 stacks, and you had to actually charge it for a very long time without healing or shielding someone, but they reduced it from
Okay.
100 to just 2. That's why I was
Yeah.
like, this looks kind of weak. Yeah,
It
when
was
you
a lot less than 100.
yeah when you moused over the deals part to 30 to 200 and 60 to 400,
Yeah.
originally that scaled with up to 100 charges based on a formula. So
And it still was 50 to 400?
uh, no, it was a few days ago the last time I read this in depth.
Yeah, but it
Then
was still like 400 max, even when you had to charge it all the way up to 100.
the damage was the same, the formula was different.
I see.
Well, now, yeah, now I think this is like a version of Imperial Mandate that I could stomach using. Yeah, this actually looks really busted now that I think of it. Because it doesn't even have an internal cooldown from what I can see, and that would be the
Yeah.
thing that would gate it to not being as good. Even Imperial Mandate has an internal cooldown.
Yeah, and just to think quickly about the ability power, because 30 looks so goddamn, crappy low.
No, not for
Um,
like level 1, it ain't.
well, you're not getting this at level 1. But what it does give you is 3 ability power for every 25% base mana regeneration. And it's giving you 125% mana regeneration off the bat. So it's really 45 ability power on this item. If you have other items, let's say like Redemption, which I think gives you like 100%. There are a few. I think Ardent Censer and Staff of Flowing Water give you a bunch. Um, there's a reasonable case that you'll get to 80 AP out of this if you're building the right items alongside it.
Maybe. I feel like this is just a dream item for like only Soraka and Sona.
Oh, well, Sona definitely. The one reason I don't think I'd want to use this on Soraka, there's actually two reasons. One, Moonstone Renewer exists, and two, um, the dissonance disables harmony in your other items, so you won't be able to get the. Oh, wait a minute! Soraka basically has no base health regeneration. Her base health regeneration, I think, is 0.7 or something stupid like that.
Her and
Um,
Aatrox have almost none.
so yeah, this would be pretty good on Soraka as well. You're right. Q, E, and then heal, and you're doing more damage than you probably did with the Q and the E just with this item.
Yeah, this is going to make people
Yep.
just play Brand on every support again, you know? This is going to bring back the old Soraka Emax and stuff like that.
Maybe
Because
no.
it doesn't care about the rank of your Q or your W, you know, to
Right. It
charge
doesn't
this.
care how much damage you do. It only cares that you did the damage.
Yeah.
The one thing I would like for them to have done on this item was to allow it to store more charges, maybe make the charges a little bit weaker. There's definitely a lot of chems who would want to use this, whose heal or shield is on a longer cooldown than their other skills, and it would be nice to let them use it. Besides that, this item actually looks reasonably good, particularly for defensive healers.
Yeah. It's going to
Yeah,
be a tough decision between this and Moonstone. We'll
yeah.
get to that one when we get
With
to it,
Rock,
but
I mean,
that one's different
yeah.
too now.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. I would
Next.
say Sona definitely uses this one instead of Moonstone. Soraka, it might be tough.
Next up, we got. Who the hell cares? Even Shroud has some new dumbass thing on it. Who cares? Next up, we got Fimbulwinter. You no longer have to pay mana on the 1.5 tanks that actually like to build this item. Okay, let's go to Force of Nature, the first new meaningful one change here. I'm actually
Mm.
really butthurt about this change because this is actually one of my favorite items since it came back into the game. I'm pretty feisty that it lost the flat damage reduction just so they could spit on your face with giving you 30 bonus diminishing returns MR. This was a really good item for like a heavy AP team to play against, and you know, I feel like tanks. It's very hard for them to be tanky against heavy AD teams, but I feel like against heavy AP teams, they can still be very tanky. So, very upset that they took away the flat amount on this.
Did they change the amount that you get per stack?
I think you only get. Yeah, I don't know.
See, this is the type of thing. I mean, if you look at, if you mouse over this item, you can see how many words are on this passive. It's ridiculous. I heard a great game developer conference talk recently where someone said, like, if you have more than 8 words on your screen, people will not read it. If you have more than 8 words on any label at any given time, and obviously a game like this needs more than 8 words to explain something like a passive, but this is ridiculous.
If you're a filthy casual, 8 words might be too much for you to comprehend. I agree.
Yeah, well, they didn't say everyone will read it below 8 words, just that no one will read it above 8 words. This is ridiculous.
The gist of my argument is flat damage reduction is one of the most powerful stats in the game, and
Sure.
there's no way that getting 30 bonus MR is going to come close to how much damage reduction this thing gave you. So it's kind of a bummer.
Okay. That's a shame.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't really need to talk about Gale Force. The gist of it, they changed the active to do physical damage and scale with crit, whereas it used to do magic damage and scale with attack damage. That's pretty much all you need to know about that one. Next up, we got Gore Drinker. More health synergy. They slowly been moving away from the ability haste synergy. Used to be 5, then it was 7, then silly goofed it back to 3. Now they put health on it, and now the health is even higher. So the synergy on that one has changed a million times. This is probably more suited to it. I actually liked having a ton of ability haste, but it's probably too abusive with this item's active effect.
I mean, this is a huge buff. This is 100 extra health late game, and you're taking down the cost by 100 golds.
Yes, but we're in the midst of a health inflation spiral at the moment, so I'm not won over by this change.
Okay.
I'd rather have that 7 ability haste back. Okay, this is the item. This is the one where my conspiracy theory is going to take shape now, because now we're getting into all of the big crazy shit that I'm going to start.
Lay it on us, because we know how much you hate Master Use.
No, it has nothing to do with Master Yi. Master Yi will be cancer, as long as there's daggers in the game. Anyway. Okay, so here's my conspiracy. I'm going to put it real simple, and then I'll explain my point. What they did this patch, when it hits live tomorrow, day after, whatever, they gave, and this is really, I think this could break the game in some ways that people don't realize. They gave every AD carry in the game the ability to be Kayle. There are
with wins.
Not this is part of it,
okay.
But they added so much on-hit magic damage on items in this patch, and there's about with the addition of things they brought back like Static Shiv and changes they made to Rapid Fire Cannon and Storm whatever the hell it's called, Storm whatever the hell,
Storm Razor, I think.
Storm Razor, yes, and this item. They have made it so every AD carry in the game can build like Kayle and still build like 80 to 100% critical strike chance, because now there exists 4 or 5 items in the game that all still give AD, they all still give critical strike chance, and they all give bonus magic damage on hit. They have turned every champion into Kayle, and that's my grand conspiracy. And what this is going to do is all of these items still have attack damage. All of them still have critical strike on them. This one doesn't, but it doesn't really matter. And what that's going to do is everyone's still going to be doing physical damage, but there's no reason to not diversify your damage portfolio now on so many of these attack speed AD carries. They're all going to be doing shitloads of magic damage, whereas before they would have only been doing one damage type. This is going to really throw tanks for a loop. And the crazy thing about this is AD carries aren't really losing anything by doing this, because in the past, so much on-hit damage was gated behind the fact that it didn't give things like like critical strike. There was never an on-hit magic item that gave like critical strike chance. That wasn't a thing. That would be something that Teemo would buy, or Nashers or Mages would buy.
2 years ago, they started to really merge the attack speed and critical strike items together.
Yeah. And yeah, that plays a part in this too, because some of those that never had AD now have AD, like Rapid Fire Cannon, Phantom Dancer. Those never used to have AD. Now they have AD. And here's the second part of this is I think Ginsu's is going to be, even though it has only 30 AD and it has goofy AP, I think it's going to give too much for AD carries to not be their go-to mythic now, even though they made Infinity Edge a mythic stupidly. It's not even... People don't place a high enough value on what Infinity Edge does anymore in the face of all of these crazy actives and passives, now that they've nerfed Infinity Edge 12 times. And what this gives access to an area of the game that AD carries never really had access to. And if that wasn't enough, now they're giving them all armor and magic pen, whereas before they wouldn't be building lethality. They would need Last Whisper, Mortal Reminder, Lord Dominic's to get that same effect, because those were only critical strike items. I feel like what this has done is, I'm just going to say it again, they've made every champion Kayle. But you didn't lose anything. You still have all your crit, you still have lots of attack damage, except now you're going to be pushing out like 500, 600, 700, and I haven't even gotten to the 2 champs that are going to be the flavors of the month, in my opinion, for riping abuse on this, in my opinion. And yeah, so every champion's going to be able to put out like 500-600 magic damage on hit. Now, a few of those items do have a stack system with the energized effect, but a lot of them don't. And with the way Ginsu's works, those rev up too, and all of those energized effects have always stacked, and I'm sure they still will stack.
I mean, Jin's clearly not going to use this.
Oh, that's funny you
Is
mentioned it.
Ezreal
No,
is
Jin.
Ezreal going to use this? Jin ain't going to use this.
No, Jin was one of the two champions I was going to say, because they did not learn their lesson the last time they reworked Ginsu's Rageblade. The Jin was making this item busted, and that's part of the reason why they reworked it to the goofy version it has been for the last year. And, well,
what does Jin get out of this?
Well, listen. Jin's passive increases his total attack damage by a flat percentage based on a combination of his critical strike chance and attack speed. And this revs up basically the same as like lethal tempo. This is what the old Ginsus used to do. This is going to give him a gigantic multiplier. And as if that wasn't enough, when this item was broken on Jin, it did not have attack damage. Now it also scales with itself. The fact that this gives AP, Jin couldn't give a shit. And when we get down to Kraken Slayer, that's when Jin's really going to blow the roof off the goddamn house. Because
I don't think he's going to use this. I don't think Ezreal, Misfortune,
Ezreal
Xayah,
won't, because Ezreal's not a hyper carry.
Right.
This is something.
Every ADC is Kayle. Kayle's a hyper carry.
Yes, but when I said every AD carry is Kayle, I meant like the ones that are based on attack speed, not abilities.
Well, every hyper carry can certainly look at this as a possibility.
That's what I'm saying.
The issue is, does it actually replace Kraken?
Kraken's no longer a mythic now, so yes.
Well, they unmythifized.
That's part of the quartet I was talking about. You have Ginsu's, Kraken, Storm Razor, Rapid Fire, Static Shiv. All of these items give crit. They now give damage. Rapid Fire Static never had AD. All of these items have AD. They have critical strike, and they have on-hit magic damage. So you're not losing anything, and you're gaining a shitload of on-hit magic damage. There's no reason why you wouldn't diversify your damage, like portfolio, essentially, because it makes characters insanely hard to itemize against you.
So why do you think they did this? Why do you think they want to make all hyper carries Kayle?
I have no fucking clue. I think they're just fucking stupid, because they don't realize the redonkulous can of worms that they have unleashed.
Well, this item absolutely is a can of worms, right? Because, and this is a problem that's always existed in League to some extent. Some champions, like Trashuo with Infinity Edge, Vladimir with Spirit Visage, they dictate the value of a certain item because they can use an item so much better than every other champ in the game can. And therefore you have to balance both the champ and the item around each other.
And that's why there's going back years and years and years, Jin's passive has broken so many things in the game. Yeah. And they've never changed Jin's passive because it's too important to how Jin scales that he ends the game with like 600 to 1200 attack damage. And let me tell you, with these new changes, he's going to easily be able to get to like 1000 AD, and he's going to be doing like 800 to like 1200 magic damage on hit, as well as doing his regular physical damage he was already doing.
I still don't see it on Jin just because, he can proc the on-hit so infrequently.
It don't matter if it's infrequent if every time you shoot you're doing Viger's ultimate every time you shoot.
Yeah. Passive turns it into a lot of damage. Your argument makes sense. Maybe he builds this and none of the other on-hits. I don't know.
Oh, no. If you're not going to build the other ones, there's no reason to build Ginsu's because of the double up effect.
All the other ones are based around you having a very quick attack speed.
I'm saying the magic damage will provide so much burst that it will be almost irrelevant that you're building this for the purpose of being a hyper carry, because the damage you won't be able to ignore. It won't matter that it's coming out slower. It'll be coming out much bigger. This is for Jin specific.
You want to make a bet that we see pro players use Rageblade Jin, more than 5 times before the end of this year?
Even if they don't do it, and they might, even if they don't do it, it's not going to change how busted it's going to be.
Yeah. I definitely see your argument, and
And
certainly for a lot of the other, hypercarry champs, you're absolutely right.
and the fact that
Um,
this has dual hybrid penetration as its synergy is just going to make
yeah,
the on-hit magic damage so ludicrous. It's just it's
yeah,
insane.
20% armor pen from this alone, plus another like 35 from your last whisper or whatever. This is
No, you don't
yeah.
even you don't even
I'm
get
coming
your
around on your argument here.
you don't even need to get your last whisper item because this is your last whisper item.
Oh, but together they're even better.
Yes, but you'll be losing out on an item that gives on-hit magic damage, which
Oh,
would
that's
make your
good.
magic pen less valuable, and it'll make your phantom strike less valuable too.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, who you're playing against. If you're playing against, a Malphite, an Ornn, and a Cho'Gath on the enemy team, you probably want both.
As soon as this patch hits live, I'm gonna go into the practice tool, and I'm gonna make a little video and send it to you on Discord of Jin doing like 1,200 magic damage when none of his buttons
Here's
do
the
magic
really
damage.
weird thing about this being a mythic item, though, right? So, this is an item about having, that is largely about having critical strike from your other items and essentially force multiplying um, that critical strike chance into ridiculous amounts of damage on hit.
The only way this item could be more ludicrous is if itself had 20% critical strike chance.
So to finish what I was saying, it is strange that this is a mythic item. Usually you build your mythic first. That only has a small amount of attack damage, ability power, which again most ADCs don't really need. No matter how much you want to try and shoehorn it, and no critical strike chance. As your first item, kind of like Kale, right? Until you get to like 3 items, you're not that powerful.
No, I don't. As long as you're running lethal tempo on a hyper carry, the fact that the item gives a little bit less AD, I don't think will be a huge problem.
Yeah, but just when all you have is just this is your mythic, or do you think this is something you should build second or third, even though it's a mythic item? You're not going to get the extra penetration from the mythic passive, obviously, because
No,
it's your first item.
you'll want to
You're not
build
going
it
to get the
first
class
because this
on bonus. Uh-huh.
you'll want to build it first because the scaling attack speed doesn't have a level requirement. It'll work.
That doesn't have it, right?
It'll lurk
But
from the first chance
that's
you get
all
it.
you get from the item. The
Well,
seething.
think of the magic damage on hit is just 30 more attack damage, and then we're basically right back to a regular item, aren't you?
You don't. Um. Oh, it's increased. Okay, so you do get the basic attack on hit. And if you're at, let's say, level 8, you're getting like 80 bonus magic damage there.
It's based on
Okay,
your crit chance, not your level.
okay, you know what? You've convinced me.
That's
I still don't
why
know about Jin, but you've convinced me that this item is actually absurdly off the charts, and every like hyper carry ADC is going to be buying it. Yeah, this is disgusting.
it just it's a quartet of 4 or 5 crazy items that are now going to be so synergistic with each other that you're going to be
I'll
getting.
tell you what they're going to do to nerf
This is
this. They're going
crazy.
to turn the penetration down to 3% and 3%.
That's just icing on the cake. This is going to be busted
Yeah,
without that.
I agree.
Yeah. Anyway,
I agree. Also, for simplicity's sake, again, while we're talking about stacking, and this is just a little thing, right? At maximum stacks, let me read this out, and you tell me whether you understand what it means easily or not. At maximum stacks, basic attacks on attack grant a phantom stack for 6 seconds up to 2 stacks. At 2 stacks, the next basic attack consumes all stacks on attack to trigger a phantom hit that applies on hit effects to the target at 100% effectiveness after a 0.15 second delay.
you're right. It should
Is
just
that
say
intuitive or is that non-intuitive?
it'd be like me shoot twice. Good.
Yeah, all they need to say is, once you've reached max stacks, every other attack applies on hits twice. That's all they need to say.
Well, the thing is, the reason it has that crazy lingo is because the
Huh?
difference between on attack and on hit has different levels of relevance whether your champion's melee or ranged.
Right, but if they said every... Okay, so... Right, but again, all you need to say is every other attack, not every other hit, every other attack applies on hit effects twice.
Yeah.
Or applies on hit effects one extra time. So if it was originally 0 times, now it's 1 time.
Yeah, it could be more
Yeah,
succinct or whatever.
yeah. This is just an obsession with stacks. All right.
Oh,
Any
the
other rants you want to do about the on hit meta and Guinsoo's Rage Blade before we move on?
just to say, the other champ that I thought would be busted in this new
Mhm.
catastrophe is going to be Corki, because he is a hyper carry. He is like a lot of abilities, but he is more of a hyper carry than he is like Ezreal or Lucian. And the reason I
Uh-huh.
say that is he'll be able to get all the other things that all of the other hyper carries will get from the physical
Mhm.
damage critical strike components, but not only will he get all of the extra on hit magic damage, but he'll
Uh-huh.
convert 80% of the other physical damage into more magic damage, which is going to plateau him to a level of magic damage DPS that only like Azir and Cassiopeia can like approach.
Rise, but
So he
yeah,
was
I
my
could see
other
it.
pick for Redonkulous Town.
Porky's E doesn't apply on hits, does it?
His what? His E?
Yeah.
No, but that shreds your armor in MR2.
Oh,
And it's just
there we
a
go.
thunder of lightning in a bottle that they have with this crazy shit. And
This will be really interesting. I look at an item like this, and I usually think it's going to be for a champ that wants to auto attack a lot, not for a champ that wants to use their abilities like Quirky. But you make a compelling case.
Corki, I mean, you use his abilities, and you think of like, oh, well, you got to get Trinity Force. No, not really. In the modern era, he plays more like a hyper carry in the old days. If you're not doing the dumb shit AP crap. No, I think.
All right. Hopefully,
Yeah.
our discussion on Hex Drinker will be less involved than that. Oh,
Okay.
Hearthband X has something too.
All right. This is just a thing that makes you go fast when you hit people.
Mm-hmm. Goes into
Uh,
things like PD and Wits End and Triforce.
yep.
Um, yeah.
Stride breaker.
Uh, yeah, just a okay, it costs 100 more gold, it does 5 more attack damage. Probably a slightly better build path. Who cares?
Next
Hex
up,
Drink.
they decided that this thing shouldn't be able to save you as long as it was before, which was already minuscule. So now it's only 2.5 seconds because 3 was too good. What few people in the game even ever buy this damn item, which is not much.
Yeah, I mean, this is in line with most shields in the game are 2.5 seconds or less now. Even the ability shields.
Okay, next up we got Hull Breaker, which is an item I don't think anyone with any common sense ever wants to see buffed. That's for damn sure.
Agreed, agreed, and agreed.
This is like the second coming of ZZ Rot's Portal and Banner of Command. Just less invasive and obvious that it's cancer in your game.
No. Yeah, especially the movement speed that they're granting it now. This is ridiculous. Like, we're gonna make it even easier for Scion to get away? Really? Really? I don't know. I think the treatment they should have given Hullbreaker was make it into a mythic item. And say, I'm committing to split pushing for this entire game. This is what I'm going to be good at. Give it even bigger bonuses, but don't let you combine it with things like Heartsteel.
That's a
That's
good
how I
that's
would
a
have
good
liked to see
point.
it
With
go.
all the
Yeah.
reshuffling they did, maybe they should make it a mythic.
I feel like Hullbreaker was exactly the one you'd want to bring into the mythic status. Yeah, and they didn't. Instead, they just buffed it. So, look forward to more split pushy Orcs and Scions in your freaking games.
This season I have developed a very much disdain for Yorick. I'm very sick of playing against Yorick.
Yeah, and you're just a Scion stan. Otherwise, you would have developed a disdain for him too.
I don't think Scion's nearly as bad. He's been nerfed like many times for the reason you complain about. Uh,
Yeah.
Plus, he doesn't leverage the stats as well as a lot of the fighter types that can build Hullbreaker, like Alawi or Darius and stuff like that. Since he's just a dedicated tank for the most part.
I mean, AD and I mean, no, he can do damage. Like he can really do damage by walking up to you with Triforce.
No Scion builds Triforce.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Yorick.
No, I was talking about Scion. But
I
yeah,
see.
I hate Yorick.
Yeah. No, okay, we can agree on our Yorick hatred at least.
Yorick is no fun to play against.
Yeah, of course,
I
Scion,
feel
you'd be an
like
idiot
I
to
feel
build
like
anything
if
but hard.
I know I'm playing against it, I have to pick something equally stupid, or I'm just not gonna have a good time. So I've been busting out my Olaf against it. Does pretty well against him.
Nice, nice.
It's no fun. I want to play my slobs. I don't want to play stuff that's as gay as Yorick. So yeah, I've been busting out the Olaf, the Fiora, and a couple other things. I don't want to do it.
All right, Immortal Shield Bow.
All right, not much to say
What
about
happened
this
here?
one. They just swapped out the
Oh
bonus
no, I've got
attack,
a lot to say about this one.
the attack damage you got when it was active versus attack speed that you now get when it's active. I don't think it was hugely consequential. It's a bummer to see the shield got nerfed because I feel like people that buy this don't have a lot of otherwise defensive items since Sterix is so bad on ranged people now, seeing as it only scales with bonus health. Yeah, I don't feel like what they did with this was hugely consequential. And
I
to be
think
honest, I like the old one better, but I don't have a problem with it.
I think
It's
you missed one thing, and I'm
well,
gonna make the argument that this is a weird change because they demythified this item.
oh yeah, I knew that, but I still
This
don't.
is no longer a mythic. That is a sea change right there.
Yeah,
And the
this is
reason for
true.
that is because in the past, Immortal Shield Bow is something you had to buy as a mythic. I mean, forget about like the trash woes and whatever that were buying it. Um, to get like 4,000 HP. Um, as an ADC, this was an item you had to opt into to go defensive. This was the item you went into. Sure, you could build something like a Maw if the other team had a lot of magic damage, but this was essentially your go-to defensive item when you said, I don't need to do as much damage, I just need to protect myself from dive and make sure that I have uptime during the fights. Not having to do that anymore means you could build, for example, on Jinx, Kraken Slayer, or the new Gwynsu's Rageblade. If you're saying that's what she's going to build instead,
You
and
better
Immortal
believe it.
Shield, and that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous that you no longer have to opt into your defensive stats. You can just pick it up and still get 50 attack damage, 20% critical strike chance, which is buffing up that Gwynsu's Rageblade, of course, and lifesteal.
No, 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 no,
And
no.
yeah,
You would never build this with Ginsu's. It has no on-hit magic damage.
you don't need every item to have on-hit magic damage.
Oh,
You do need to survive one dive.
no, 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 man. You do when there's 5 of them in the game that all still have critical strike chance. We'll get to the meat and potatoes further
All right, I
down.
guess we're going to agree to disagree about that. But what I found really strange here is that this used to be the item that you opted into for a very powerful, broken if it weren't a mythic shield. And yeah, they got rid of 130 shield at max level. That's not insignificant, but that's still a really big shield for an ADC that's probably going to have like 1,400 health.
I get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
it has lost a lot of stats to be a legendary now. So
Um, really, like the whole point of Mythics was to make champs decide based on the way the game is going or what other champs are in the game. Make them decide what they wanted to be good at. This was the item to make them better at defense and uptime, and maybe some baits as well. They no longer need to opt into that. That is huge. And to see this along with either something like Kraken or Gwynsu's Rageblade, depending on whether you're going on hit or just straight up classic ADC El Clasico critical strike.
no, that's the beauty of this conspiracy. On hit
Yeah.
will be classic 80 carry now. You're not losing anything.
You don't think any of the ADCs are going to be able to reasonably keep away from the on hit items?
I think if you're smart,
Mm-hmm.
and the pros I think will pick up on the fact that you can diversify your damage output is too important to pass up. It's going to make
Okay.
tanks just too difficult to itemize against you, and it's going to make squishy people who don't have scaling MR and have way less MR way more vulnerable to you than they would have otherwise
Yeah.
been. So it's
Worth
giving something
noting-
that you never had. That's the gist of it.
Worth noting is that in its old mythic form, it did also give you bonus health, so that was a defensive stat, and now it no longer gives you any type of bonus health. But I still think this absolutely crowds out Maw, for example. Even if there's lots of magic on the other team, you always want to build this as your first defensive item as an ADC. Probably crowds out Guardian Angel in every single way, too.
Well, yeah, I think all three of them have a place. For instance, Maw
Yeah.
comes with the MR. Maw gives you lifesteal when it activates.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. I
Gives you
think
life
Maw
steal always.
sucks. I honestly think they should just give Maw a 20% critical strike chance. Probably be better for it.
Might be.
Make it a little more appealing. It's such a niche item like Wit's End.
Oh, you know
Uh,
the Master Yi's are going to start building it, though.
I think for Master Yi, the world is his oyster. Now that he doesn't have to build Dustblade, I think he just got a lot more flexible. I think there's some new silliness for him to partake in, but I'm not convinced Master Yi will do the on hit thing just because he doesn't need like 5 damage items. So I don't know. There are always going to be people that build him more tanky, the smart ones, and there's going to be people that build him with 6 damage items. So
Well, those are probably the same people that are using Q to engage.
yes, and as for GA, there'll never be something that can rival not dying when you die. So
How about not dying in the first place every 90 seconds?
the shield's good, but I don't think it's stupid good. You know,
Yeah, I think it just totally crowds it out.
and you don't even get like I'd rather have the bonus attack damage and the attack damage synergy than just having 30% extra attack speed when it activates. I get what you're saying though. Basically,
Yeah,
you're making the
it's just
Ginsu.
weird to
You're
me.
making the Ginsu's argument too. You're getting something for nothing that you used to have to opt into. You
In
know,
a way, yeah. Essentially, like, if you don't have to choose between A or B, what is the point of Mythics in the first place?
I've never been 100% sold on the Mythic experiment to begin with. To be honest,
Yeah,
now they've made so many busted Mythics though, it'd be difficult to be able to be like, oh, okay, we're getting rid of Mythics, so go ahead and buy all 5 of them.
my only problem with Mythics, right? Because their intention, and they did talk about this, was that they wanted to really offer you, have like essentially one overpowered item you could have per game. That would be a choice of what do I want to do this particular game. And so the ADC choice was mobility in was it Gale Force, I think? The one that gives you the dash.
Yep.
Versus Shield Bow, which is like the anti-dive. Versus Kraken Slayer, for being able to put out damage very quickly.
Yep.
And certainly there were some champs that you would always take one or the other.
There was a fourth thing missing from that, but they actually addressed it in this patch by making Navori Quickblade into a Mythic now.
Yeah, that
We'll get
one's
to that. We'll get to that
interesting.
later, though.
Yeah. But I feel like to some extent with a change like this, they have decayed the point of Mythics in the game. And now it's like, oh, it's just an item that'll give your other things more stats.
All right, let's move on to Imperial Mandate. I don't
And I
have
think
really anything
on.
to say about this other than I guess it's a little bit better. It's not.
Yeah,
It's
so this
not a
is
mythic anymore either. So now you can build this with Athene's Unholy Grail, and then you'll be in for a real good time, I suppose.
Yeah, and this is the first kind of like big change they made to a support item. We're going to see a lot of them for some reason. A lot of them have names in the second half of the alphabet, but we're going to see a lot more of them. I do think it's very smart that they took the mythic status off of this because it was never a bad item. It was just almost every single support that actually could apply the slow or immobilize with more than one ability had a better mythic to go to.
Well said. It sucks.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying was it didn't suck. It just sucked compared to the other support mythics.
Exactly.
Right? I crowded
Exactly.
out.
That's
Um,
exactly why you can't take Locket or Shirelles. There's just other things that are too good. Even
now that
Even Shroud's become too good, and there's just Moonstone is too good. It's just hard to take these dumb ones.
Yeah, now that you can build this with Moonstone, with Even Shroud, or with Athene's Unholy Grail 2, aka the Echoes of
Don't
Helia.
say it. Don't
It's
say
actually
it.
a pretty cool name, I gotta say.
Don't say it.
It's a cool name, unlike some of the other ones. I think they did a good job with that one.
No, they
Uh,
didn't. You're being conned.
fine, fine. Athene's 2. Happy?
There you go.
Okay. How about Athene's II? Can I call it that?
No, just like we call Jack shows just Jack shows because the rest of it's too
Uh,
stupid. We call this just you just call it Athenes. We'll
yes,
settle for
sir.
the
Well, technically it's Jack Show the
we'll
protein.
settle for the fact that they're playing the long con on us and move on.
Yeah. I do think that if you can build it with Athene's 2, with Moonstone, with Even Shroud, all of a sudden this becomes a very feasible item on basically any support that can trigger this with at least 2 of their abilities.
I would have been happy if they kept the Kindle gem on this, but whatever.
Yeah, they got rid of the health. Well, you always like having health on all your slubs, even the enchanter slubs. You probably
Uh,
built Janna with 1,000 bonus health.
no, I build her pure AP because I think the
Okay.
potency of her abilities are more important than cooldown reduction.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Yeah, they got rid of the Kindle gem because it no longer has health. I think all of the support mythics had 200 health on them, so they just threw it on this as well. But yeah, now Imperial Mandate doesn't really need that. It's all about dealing bonus damage and maybe getting a little bonus speed. I would like if they gave it like 5% movement speed as a stat as well.
Yeah,
That would be nice. But otherwise, yeah, I think this is a completely feasible item now. Take a look at it if you haven't in the past.
I've never bought it, and I don't plan to. And now that it's been changed to not be a mythic, though, its synergy with Athene's is going to be pretty undeniable.
Yeah.
It's going to make a lot of low damage supports be respectable. That's why I was saying it's the age of brand LARP once again.
Yeah,
Everyone thinks they're
I
brand.
completely agree with you. And then I would add on top of that really some of the other support items, which also let you tag enemies, and then your allies can do more damage to them. This will synergize with beautifully.
Okay, next up, one of the most head scratchers of the patch. We got Infinity Edge is now a mythic with, I gotta be honest, a pretty uninspired mythic synergy. Just gives 5. If they really wanted to raise some eyebrows, they should have just made it 10, since Infinity Edge is kind of the Rabadon's death cap of the AD item club.
Yeah, or even like increased your AD by 5%.
Hey, I like that. Make it
Yep.
10 though.
10% each, so you
Not
get
not
50,
10
40% more bonus AD at full build.
not 10 bonus, 10% flat.
Ooh, interesting.
But once upon a time, this would be the go-to item you would rush before the time of mythics, and that was the case for a very long time. Now I feel like the original 380 carry mythics made this item so unappealing to even put in your build because, like I said earlier, there's so many items that have such powerful passive effects now. Just increasing your critical strike multiplier isn't really not only not exciting enough, but not impactful enough when things can slow, they can dash, they can shield you, they can defend you somehow, they do XYZ, whatever the hell.
Right, and can I add on to that really quickly? If you basically get your uptime as an ADC, you will do enough damage either way. Like dealing enough damage was never an ADC's problem. And that's why things that gave you more uptime, the shields, the mobility, basically anything else that like you said provide that extra utility, were so much more useful than just increasing your multiplier.
Yeah, I don't see anyone building this mythic. If they want to actually make it stand out without giving it a flashy active effect or something like that, they really need to either increase the base stats to something preposterous like 85 AD,
Yeah.
or increase the synergy to something like you said, Rabadon's, or just give it like 10 or 12 extra attack damage on synergy. Something to emphasize that this is the ultimate stat stick that makes up for not having some flashy ass passive or active or whatever.
Is it though?
This is
I
not
mean-
going to cut the cheese, let me tell you. People are not going to be excited to build this.
Oh, you want this to be the ultimate stat stick. I see. Yeah, yeah. It needs to be because it's not right now. 70 AD, that's not bad. 20% crit, meh. And then the 35% critical strike damage is essentially just its old passive.
Not
Um,
even.
and it doesn't even get like a new passive.
There was a time where you used to do
Yeah.
250% bonus damage. You
Yeah,
have to buy this just to do 210.
you're paying 3,400 gold for this? It doesn't make any sense. I'll tell you the one champ I could see building this now that Shield Bow is no longer a mythic, Trashua.
Well, yeah, for like
I think he probably builds this because this is 40% crit for him, and all of his damage will be multiplied by another 35%. He probably builds this. I don't even know that he builds it first.
I mean, you can't really think about this item in terms of just Yon and Yasuo because, of course, it makes sense for them to build
Yeah,
this
the
at
Trashua
some point
brothers will build this.
because that's like their whole reason for being is big crits
I
and
think
critting nonstop.
I think they're going to be the only ones building this though.
Yeah,
I can't
probably.
see any other champion in the game justifying this.
Maybe Trendemir, but even he has more silly stuff now.
Windermere can attack pretty fast. Like, why not just go Rage Blade?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Why should you be content to get fucked over by Thornmail when you can do 1200 magic damage? You're right.
Exactly.
I think
Exactly.
my argument works not just for the ranged AD carries, but the hyper and melee AD carries too, like Trendemir, Master Yi, one or two others. You know.
Yeah, a lot of them already have good items like Divine Sunder, but I think
You
that's a
don't-
very reasonable argument. Yeah.
You don't want that on someone who attacks a shitload. You want that on someone who has like kind of garbage
That's true.
attack speed,
One
but uses
big
a lot of
engage and a
abilities.
burst- yeah, a burst ability like plus an empowered auto or something. That's true. Yeah. So I think we're in agreement. This item will only be seen on the Trashua brothers.
Technically speaking, it would still be the best or the most powerful one item power spike because you no longer need other items to activate the bonus critical strike damage. I just don't think it'll be exciting enough.
20% of your hits. That's nothing.
Yeah, but it'll always be more than what your counterpart's doing if they're getting a regular crit item.
Right, but they're doing, an extra 60 damage with every single hit. You're doing an extra 70 damage on 20% of your hits? I don't know.
It all adds up. There was a reason
Yeah,
people
I
built it
think,
first for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
I think this is definitely underpowered, but like just from a 50,000 foot theoretical point of view, why do you think they decided to make this a mythic item in the first place? Like, why aren't they allowing this to be used with other items, with other mythics?
I think for the exact same reason they made Immortal Shield Bow not a mythic anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think they've gotten
Too many
confused
cooks. There's
over
too many
what they-
cooks.
I think somebody at Riot got very confused over what the point of mythics was.
I think
And
whoever
while
was
some
in
of these
charge of
changes look cool. Yeah.
I think whoever was in charge of like had the last word on this entire patch just threw their hands up and just let everyone under them just throw in whatever they wanted. That's what I think.
And then they played musical chairs with 118 people at the Riot HQ.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next one? Kirchis?
I don't think they do a lot of theory crafting before they roll shit out like this.
I mean, they have smart people on the staff. Like, let's make no mistake about that.
Bullshit. I think that
That's really good.
I think the separate crew or whatever that's responsible for making like new champs and coming up with like the absolute full reworks. I think those
I know that
people
you
do a
like
very
that
good.
better.
Those people do a very
Yeah.
good job. I think the balance team are a bunch of fucking monkeys.
I don't think they're the clowns that you think they do. I think it might be.
I think it's two
a case
things.
of-
I think they're
too many
fucking
cooks in the
monkeys,
kitchen.
or I
Yeah.
think that someone higher up than them mandates them to have to act like a bunch of fucking monkeys to keep the game fresh. That's what I think.
Okay, let's blame Skarzard for it all then.
Okay.
I just really think that there's not good communication, if I had to take a guess, between the balance team or somebody on the balance team and the rest of the game systems people. The ones that work on the actual systems, not necessarily the champs, but like what the Rift looks like, what we're doing on on a holistic basis with the items.
Well,
There's some type of miscommunication there.
this patch must be a head scratcher if you're agreeing with me this much.
Yeah, I mean something like Infinity Edge becoming a mythic, and yeah, and the Shield Bow leaving mythic status makes me scratch my head.
Okay, we'll talk. We won't waste too much time on this. The important thing is, just like my previous argument, is a lot of items that never had attack damage and gave you attack speed and on-hit effects now have attack damage, and this is merely builds into all the other items that kind of made my point. Without further ado, we have the item that's gonna.
Well, let me just say something on that. I think
What?
this is a straight buff in the early game, where you're doing more attack damage instead of attacking more frequently.
Yeah.
And later on, especially if you're going like some of those on-hit builds, I think it's going to be worse to have the attack damage when you could have had the attack speed. So yeah, just a different power curve.
It's
All right,
inconsequential
I
to
won't
look at
talk
this
about
item.
you any longer. Complain about Kraken Slayer.
Okay, without further ado, Ginsu's might have been the beginning, but Kraken Slayer, the new one, is the end. Now that it is not a mythic anymore, you can build this whenever the hell you want. Yes, they got rid of the true damage, so everyone isn't Vayne, but like I said, everyone is now Kayle. Now, the fact that this scales with your total AD is at heart the biggest part of this problem, because this is essentially Nashor's Tooth, right? This does bonus magic damage
Right.
on hit now. This isn't
Yeah.
this isn't true damage. This isn't physical damage. This merely feeds into my argument I was making up top. And a 60% AD ratio on Nashor's Tooth. Keep in mind, Nashor's Tooth only has a 20% AP ratio. What the fuck are they thinking? This has 45% of just the AP, but 60% of your total AD. They don't know what the hell you're doing. Oh, and if that wasn't bad enough, if you hit the same person, it doubles. If you get him a second time, this is why I think this is gonna make Jhin like absolutely fucking skyrocket. The guy can get 600, 1200 AD. You know how much fucking. You know what 60, 120% of that much AD is? He's going to be doing Viger's ultimate like every other auto attack. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, he would need to do 2 rounds of his autos to get up to the 100%.
Yes, but if you have
Uh-huh.
Ginsu's, it's
Uh-huh.
going to be better. And Ginsu's is also going to work with all of the other silliness even below this.
Jeez. And of course now they're giving you well, I guess they always gave you critical strike. It was an ADC mythic, but now it's a non-mythic that gives you the critical strike.
Yep, that's my point.
Yeah.
You're not losing
On
anything.
and on here. Yeah.
And just the
Losing
numbers.
25 attack damage. Who cares?
The numbers on this are just absolutely ridiculous. The scaling is just absurd.
And it's cheaper.
And it's cheaper.
Yeah. This is pretty ridiculous. Now the fact that you're not getting true damage
Don't matter.
is a thing. No, it is a thing.
That was just annoying. It never should have been in the game.
But yeah, even if you're going against like the Malphites and the Scions of the world, right? Like
That's why
they're
this
not
is
gonna be able to
busted.
build, like hundreds of magic damage against you, magic resist against you.
I know that's why this is busted. They're all going to be thinking. They're all going to be thinking like it's still fucking 2022. I'll just build Thornmail and Randuin's. I'm like, whoa! I'm getting fucking blown up. Why? Why does
And
my?
you know who this would be really nice for?
Why is my death timer got all these blue bars on it? What the fuck? This don't make sense. That's what they're going to be thinking.
Yeah. You know what this will be like really nice for? It'll be nice for the ADCs who have like some like complete wannabe like Zed or Kiana or some type of wannabe assassin like that mid lane when you already have 4 ADs on your team. And then the opponent's like, oh, all I have to do is build 400 armor and we win automatically. And now, nope, you're dealing like thousands of magic damage within the fight as the AD.
Well, it's still going to mitigate the physical damage you're doing. What makes this so busted is you're not doing much less physical damage, and you're doing just this. You're doing that plus an insane amount of magic damage.
Yeah. Do you think the difference of 20 to 50 base damage matters a lot here?
No, I don't think it matters, because you might as well just add the base amount on the on-hit effect. I know it stacks and all, but the ratio is preposterous.
Yeah, you're getting 60% your bonus AD and 60% your base AD on it
Let me
now.
reiterate, Nashor's Tooth is 20% AP. Kale's W is also 20% AP. This is over
Yeah.
double that. What were they fucking thinking? It's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is double that for the AP ratio, but it's also, several times that for the AD.
I know, and they made it total and more, where the old one was bonus and less. That's why
Like,
this is going to. This is why
what's an
this is
average?
going to make Jin just ascend to like the second coming of Jesus Christ.
I could see that, yeah. What's an average amount of base AD that an ADC will have at level 18? Like, without any items?
Like 110.
110? Okay, so, you're getting, geez, so you're getting 86 base damage before any of your bonus ratios on hit with every single hit now
Someone
from
like
50.
someone like a
Holy shit.
Lowy, Darius Olaf, they'll get like 150 or 145.
Oh my god. So you think even like Darius is going to start building this now?
No, I don't think. I don't
Okay.
think the off tanks and the fighter types will do this because it's too important that they have some measure of durability still.
Do you think we're going to see a return of Top Quinn actually being good?
Like I said, I mean, people like to build her like the surprise motherfucker lethality stuff.
Well, not lethality. I mean, just you want, critical strike and damage on her.
I think any hyper carry is going to be good on it. It's not really about what Quinn builds. It's her goofy kit that is difficult to like make use of. It's not really what she
Yeah.
builds.
Okay.
Yep. This is the one that's going to break the game. Ginsu's it'll start it, but this will finish it.
Do you think this is broken in its design or just in its numbers? Like, if they took away 40% from all of the damage that it deals on hit, is it an interesting good item now? Or is it still just broken by its very concept?
Here's the thing. This item and Gore Drinker were the two mythics when mythics first came out. I'm like, those are too good to be in the game. And originally, why I thought that about Kraken Slayer is because it did true damage, and I'm like, well, everyone's like Vayne, like that ain't good. And I originally said back then it would be better if this did magic damage because then the reason you would buy it is to diversify your damage. Now, anyone
Be careful what you wish for.
well, I don't think it was wrong then when this item, the on-hit magic damage exists when it existed in a vacuum amongst a magic and an item that did on-hit magic damage that also had critical strike and AD. The problem with it now is that there's 5 items that all give AD, critical strike, and on-hit magic damage now. This is the second one. We'll get to the other 3 later, where it's going to get extra silly. And then you can play in your mind what it's going to look like when people have 3 items that are all energized and they all go off at the same time. And it won't be hard to sync them up. All you got to do is run around in a circle. Okay, next up we got Knight's Vow. Actually, this is one of my favorite items, actually. I'm glad that it's gotten stronger over time. And they finally brought the armor back. It never made any sense that it didn't have armor for so long. So I'm a very happy man that this got better. I don't even give a shit that it lost, like, health regen or some health or whatever, or even the 5 ability haste. I really just love the effect it has, the heal and the damage reduction it gives your anchor or target or whatever. I just think it's a cool item.
Yeah, I agree. I always think it's cool. I always think it's going to be a good item, and then it never seems to work out for me when I build it.
You got to get it really early on for it to be valuable, you know?
Really? Even when your ally, hasn't been built up all the way and isn't dealing lots of damage or is worth protecting at that point in the game, you get this as like a second item?
Well, here's the thing. If they're
It's usually the
taking
last item for me.
if they're taking 20% less damage, that's just as valuable early on as it is later because the damage spikes in so the
It's 10%. It's 10%.
the percentage value is still worthwhile early as it is late.
10% unless they're at critical levels.
Yes, but if they're like dying, it's going to be like 20.
Yeah, I mean that's nice. That's for sure.
No, when I get it, I try to get it first or second when I know I have.
I gotcha.
When I know there's someone I like that's playing something that's like a hyper carry, and sometimes I get this on Shen Top, and my Shen
with that
Top
said,
got some changes this patch that are going to make me very happy. Because
I
there's
completely agree that the armor on this is nice, and the fact that you're losing something like ability haste doesn't really matter that much. If you're playing a champ like Leona, 5 ability haste is not going to hurt your ability to do what you're doing.
I'm just glad they didn't make it a mythic.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, nice change there.
Okay, let's skip this dumb shit. It just builds into the new crapola. Okay, on to Locket. It still sucks. It sucks slightly less. Nobody's still going to want it because the passive's terrible, and the shield no longer scales with health anymore like it used to. It stinks.
Yeah, this is a slight buff, and it's not going to matter. It's still a bad item.
Absolutely terrible. Even Shroud is too strong.
This might be good.
Say that again?
I said if they demythicked this item, that might be nice.
I'd be fine with it if it was a mythic if the shield had scaling. It wasn't
Yeah.
just ranked on your level and shit.
Either or, yeah.
There was a time where I
Not
would
a
build
mythic
this on
or mythic.
Cho'Gath for my team, and it was fun.
Oh, that was absolutely disgusting. Cho'Gath and Scion. I mean, Cho'Gath was especially the one that you'd build this on. Yeah.
That was fun when it scaled on. When you could build it on someone who wanted to do something nice for their team but had the money and the stats to leverage the
like
item.
a maximum of 4,000. Oh yeah, you would get Gargoyle Stoneplate. I assume you would activate that.
Yep,
and then
that
you'd
was the same meta. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even if they like capped it to 4,000 health or something like that, like let it scale.
I know, it sucks. Even Shroud is too powerful to build this, you know?
Yes, this is an item you should be building on no one. Next.
Next up, we got Lord Dominic's. The big thing about this is this sort of factors into my everyone's Kale argument because now this amplifies magic damage. The only problem, though, is it itself does not give magic damage on hit, so you're going to have to kind of strike a fragile balance between it being satisfying enough for you that Ginsu's gives a lot of magic pen, or getting this instead of another magic damage on a hit item that also has critical strike chance to boost your magic damage. Really, you can't really go wrong either way. I don't know. It'll still be good.
Yeah. Okay. I think you explained it better than I could. I agree with you.
It's not going to be the ultimate silliness item, so you're going to have to forgo this if you want ultimate silliness. That's my argument.
Well, we know what the ultimate silliness is now, right?
Well, like I said, there's a quartet of like 4 or 5 ultimate silliness items, and this one does not make the cut, unfortunately. But you wouldn't be wrong to swap out Static Shiv, Storm Razor, or Rapid Fire Cannon to get this instead. Because
there you go. We should have the ultimate silly items all come in like hello, hello, hello. Oh.
Okay, next up we got Maw.
Your favorite.
I like this more than it just being Hex Drinker forever and it never did anything. That's for sure. Yeah, I don't know. The only thing I really like is that the life still lasts forever now. That's about it.
Yeah, the life steal lasting until the end of combat is nice. It's 100 gold cheaper. I think that's a fair price to...
Like I said, I think they should slap the 20 crit on it, and then I think people would want to buy it a lot more.
Yeah, it would get seen a lot more if they did that. I don't know that they want that many shields, especially with, Shield Bow being so good, and now being deep.
All of them have the Lifeline unique name, so that'll
never
be...
Oh, so you can only use one or the other.
They put an end to that silliness a long time ago.
Yeah.
Bunch of party poopers.
Yeah.
That was Graves that ruined all those.
Yeah, I think that having a little bit less availability on the Lifeline is a fair price to pay for what they've given it here.
Okay. Next up, we got Scimitar. You don't see it a lot. Probably should also have Critical Strike on. Oh, it does, but no one buys it.
This really isn't worth talking about. Like there are certain types of games where as an attack damage carry, meaning any type of like person who can use these stats, and is worth like a Malzahar ult or a Mordekaiser ult or something like that being used on, where you're going to buy this item. And it doesn't really matter what the stats are, you just need something to build your QSS into. So this doesn't change the calculus at all.
I think they should put Lifesteal back on this item. It used to have that.
Yeah, I don't know that we want to give it too many things, but Lifesteal's interesting.
Okay, right. Next up, we got the Crucible, or whatever the hell it's named now.
Yeah. This is now Mikhail's blessing.
What was its name when it was whatever Crucible?
Yeah, it used to be Mikhail's Crucible.
Okay, that's what it's really called.
Okay.
Let's
So we've
see.
got
It's
Mikhail's
got
Crucible
health
2.
now. I guess it's
Yeah,
got
it
health
got
now.
a real stat change in its in the stats that they're giving it. I think this is worth talking about. You now get health, mana regeneration, and heal and shield power instead of ability haste, mana regeneration, magic resist, and heal and shield power. So basically, this becomes an item you can buy every game if there are important CCs that you need to cleanse your kits. Now, unlike cleanse itself, or unlike the Milio, that's his name, right? Yeah, the Milio ult.
Milo.
This does not provide any type of tenacity after you use it. And so you can only cleanse one thing, and if they then get nailed with another CC right afterwards, well, too bad. They're nailed with the CC, and you can't do jack shit about it. Everything else they've done to this item is nice, though. They didn't increase the cost. They gave it a better heal when you use it on your ally, if you need to just give them a clutch heal instead of cleansing a CC. You now get bonus health regeneration. This is kind of a nice change. I say they just made the item a little bit more attractive. If the enemy has like that one important CC you need to cleanse from an ally.
Yeah, feels like an item.
Supports?
Feels like an item that should have ability haste though.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like the fact that it doesn't have any ability haste anymore will hurt a lot of the champs that want to use it. Totally agree.
Okay, next up we got the new Moonstone Renewer, and the gist of it is if you're healing or shielding someone by themselves, they get a percentage of the original heal and shield again. So it's good. It's no longer kind of a in combat thing.
Yeah, well,
It's kind of a burst heal thing.
When you were healing and shielding them, in the past, in the old Moonstone Renewer, just because of its old effect, if you were healing and shielding them alone, they were still getting the extra heal and shield, about as much as you were getting here once you were in combat for a few seconds. The real change they made is you can kind of heal and shield two different allies at once now, with the chain.
Yep.
So, if, for example, you're the support, and you heal your ADC and your jungler is participating in the gank, you're going to heal the ADC, and your jungler is going to get about 30% of that heal as well.
Cool.
That's kind of cool, but at the same time, if you don't have two different champs that need the heal or shield that are being focused, it's not really going to help very much. The neat thing about it is that you can now proc a lot of the other effects in the game that proc once you heal or shield an ally. Things like Ardent Censer or Staff of Flowing Water. You can now proc it if you're like a single target healer or shielder on multiple targets at once. And that's kind of cool about this. As far as the actual value of the heal or shield, I don't see it being useful for that many champions very often. Maybe against a lot of AoE. You know, if you're going against an Orianna or something like that, or a Brand, yeah, it'll be nice.
I think the fact that it makes the heal stronger if you're only next to one person is more consequential than the fact that you can heal two people at once. Because champions who have heals that are either more powerful or on longer cooldowns, like Soraka or Nami's, or something, I think will be much better off with this.
Yeah, I guess with how much the old Moonstone Renewer had been nerfed, right? Where you were getting only 5% extra heal and shield power, up to 4 times to a maximum of 20. Now, once you're like level 8, 9, no matter what, you're getting a maximum of at least 20. Also worth thinking about is the fact that it's not just the heals but the shields. In fact, they even gave a higher percentage to the shields. What you are now missing from this item is that base heal of 60 to 92, essentially, based on how many other mythics you had, plus another 20%. for every ability that you used. So if you were like a Sona that was using the Q every 2 seconds, um, or if you were like a Karma, or even I even sometimes saw an item like this on support damage champions like Xerath, who could fire a spell out every few seconds. You can no longer just get the base heal for affecting enemy champions or ally champions. Unless your heal or shield is pretty strong, this is no longer a good item to buy. I guess I would leave it at that.
I like this better. I'll be honest, the old one was getting so bad it's hard to even tell that it's active in fights.
Yeah, the base heal was still pretty good.
I like
You
this
know,
better.
every time you affected someone, you would heal a nearby ally for like 80 health. That was pretty good.
This is going to make my crazy way of building full AP more fun to play because then
Yeah.
my bigger shields and bigger heals are going to be even more impactful when I'm just with my homie.
So you think this is going to be a buff to most champions?
I think people with shitty heals, I think you
Yeah.
might be better off with the other one. I think this is going to be better for the people that have either more powerful heals or heals that are stronger and have a way worse cooldown. You know,
Right. No, I agree. I
like I
agree.
don't think you want this on Tarek or Alistair, stuff like that,
Exactly. Alistar's heals have gotten better.
or
But yeah,
Rakan. Don't want that.
Rakan, they doubled his heal, remember?
Still
And
sucks.
he also shields his ally, but I don't think the shield is very big, right?
Well, because it's split into two parts, it might actually be worse.
Yeah. It might. It might. Yeah. Definitely Sona, who has like very low numbers on the heals and shields on her W. This is no longer a good item for.
Yep.
But yeah, for the Sorakas, the maybe the Lulus. Does Lulu's R? I know it counts as a heal for some things and not for others. Do you
It
think Lulu's
is.
R would work with this?
It is not a heal. It's just bonus health.
It gives maximum health. I know for some purposes it does count as a heal.
Like what?
It's hard code. I don't remember exactly what. I think like Ardent Sensor. It does count.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's hard coded for certain things to count as a heal. Like, but besides like Soraka, who do you see having like a big heal or a big shield that's gonna want to use this?
Well, I tell you, as I further diagnose the wording of
Yeah,
this, I'm seeing that it says allied change the effect to the nearest ally,
yeah.
and then it
So if
says
there's
grants
another
the
person
same.
nearby, uh-huh.
It says if there no other allies are nearby,
Yeah,
grant the same target an additional whatever. So what this
right.
tells me is this would work on something even like Soraka's ultimate. This would even work on like Shen's ultimate, silly enough, and it would be kind of funny.
You think those would chain? Yeah, that's pretty funny.
There's no range, and if it's just governed by who's closest to who, and if you're going down the lane and you know you're the closest to your 80 carry still, this would give you an either much larger Soraka ult, and mind you, hers is already stronger when you're lower, or if you're
Yeah,
Shen, and I'm not beyond doing something silly to get the biggest Shen ult known to man.
yeah. Shen
I
support.
think it would be kind of funny, yes.
Shen support. I could see it working, especially now that you don't need the base heal. It's giving less AP. I could see it working on Shen support. Although, really, you want to build the
I think Soraka's
Radiant
ultimate's
Virtue on
probably.
him. I would think.
Oh
I would
yeah,
think you would give. Yeah, you would give him much bigger.
you caught that, did you?
What?
You caught that, did you?
Yeah, I think you would probably give him much bigger effect, at least over time, with the Shen ult if you have the Radiant Virtue.
Oh, we'll get into that.
Okay. But yeah, I don't see too many champion. I think this really is a nerf for most users of Moonstone Renewer.
Mm,
For a few champs that have very powerful heal or shield that you use on other champions, this could still be good.
I think the best takeaway is the more greedier or AP heavy you're building the support, the more powerful this is going to be.
Really?
Well, look at it like
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
build
Yeah.
Janna,
Yeah.
if you build Janna full AP and her shield's way bigger, her ultimate's more powerful, then this is just going to amplify your existing AP investment further.
Yeah, Jan is a champion that I could see this working for. Okay, so yeah, this will have a place in the game for a few champs. Um, I do kind of dislike that they are essentially confining it to a few champs by not giving you kind of the random 60 to 90 base heal when affecting enemy champions. I thought it was a lot of fun to have like a little bit of support in your kit. Um, for champs that normally didn't have any type of heal or shield but were damage supports. And now forget about it.
Well, now they have Athenes, so now there's two Healy Shieldy things to
Well,
choose
no,
from.
those. Well, yeah, but those same champs can't use Athenes either because they don't have a base heal or shield in their kit. Unless, do you think that Athenes would work with like Font of Life, where like if they get the heal from you immobilizing an enemy champion, it would proc the Athenes?
Probably only counts towards yeah, I don't know. That might only include health regen. It might not count as healing or shielding.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure because it doesn't say you have to heal or shield with an ability. I don't think.
The
Oh
charges
no,
you can get from anything. The application of the heal is up in the air.
yeah. Um, yeah, I actually wonder whether some of those damage supports can take Font of Life and then bring Echoes of Helia or not.
Pretty sure Font of Life is like health regen though.
Oh, you think it's just straight health regen? You don't think it's an actual like one-time heal?
It's definitely over time, so it's not a flat heal.
Oh shit! Then you're right. Okay, so you can't use that then. Yeah, they are healed for 5. Well, it says they are healed for 5 plus 1% of your maximum health over 1.75 seconds. So it's not clear.
Well, try it out when the shit comes out, because I'm going to be messing around in the practice tool to see how much magic damage Jin can do with no abilities to do magic damage.
Okay, we'll do.
Pretty confident I can make him do at least 1200 magic damage on hit.
All right. So overall, Moonstone, do you think they hit the mark here, or do you think this was unnecessary?
For the way I like to play, I think this is cool.
Okay.
I think the old one wasn't really fun enough to keep. I don't think the old one was fun enough. And now that they have Athenes, I think I'm happy with both of them.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I just think that they also took cool things out of it. And my biggest problem with it is that it chains to the nearest ally instead of the lowest health nearby ally. That might be better. If like the lowest health ally within, let's say 500-600 units would get the chain when you have like 2 allies or more around.
Well, you still have to use your brain cells and based on how your allies are positioned.
Well, you can't really control how your allies position.
But you can control when you use an ability based on where they are.
Yeah, most of the time you're still using your healer shield for the base heal on the target that you need to save.
It's up to you.
I guess so. Yeah. Hopefully they'll change the mechanics of that a little over time.
That way, when I come from top lane with my Moonstone Renewer with my Shen, I'll ult the AD carry and then I'll still ult the support. Woo 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 woo. Somehow.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Okay, we spent 50 fucking hours on that. Next up, we got Mortal Reminder. Just got a little damage boost. That's nice. It is kind of low, I guess.
Do you think this changes the calculus on when you buy it or using it versus other items, or is it the same calculus?
The whole thing about it is that it gives grievous wounds, but now that it has the same level of armor pen as Lord Dominik's and Serelda's Grudge, I don't think it's no longer the shit choice to get anymore now that it's equal to those. For a while, it was like the one you never wanted to buy. Okay, I think we're going to have to ignore Nashor's Tooth because it doesn't have 20% critical strike chance, so that can't be any good. That's your fucking grandpa's on-hit magic. Yeah, it's your grandfather's on-hit magic damage item. Sucks.
Yeah, but you can use that 100 ability power with Vayne's Tumble now.
That's right. And they had the gall to make it more expensive. What were they thinking? We're never going to go back to that shit.
No. The components became cheaper, so they just kept the same price.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, it's just a mechanical thing.
Okay. Now we move on to Navori Quickblade, and now AD carries finally have a mythic whose synergy gives them ability haste. They never had that since the mythics came out, and I don't know if that was good design or not. I don't personally think it was smart because I think it just pushed them away from expressing their build path in a different way, and I'm all about build diversity. That's why I always bitch and moan that they took the runes out of the game because I thought those were cool.
Uh-huh.
This is pretty much identical to the way it exists right now. Instead, it's a mythic instead of a game or a regular item. So, yeah, they didn't really change anything.
Right.
You can build it first, so that's it.
Yeah, so it loses its no, it gains its mythic and powers with 5 ability haste. It still costs the same amount. And they I think they did something else to take away from it. No, I guess they just made it into a mythic without giving it any bonus stats.
They put a lot of thought into it.
This seems a little underpowered compared to the other mythics, though, doesn't it?
Not as bad as Infinity Edge, but yes.
Yeah. Like, I'd still rather have... Oh, yeah, Kraken Slayer's not a mythic anymore. I keep forgetting. So I'd still rather have Gwynsu's Rageblade, Gwynsu's Rageblade, or Gwynsu's Rageblade over this. Or even Gale Force.
Gale Force. That's so season 12 of you. Jeez.
Well, okay, so obviously, right, Gwynsu's over everything else. But
That's
if you can't
right.
have Gwynsu's, right, comparing this to Gale Force, I'd say most champs would still want Gale Force, right?
It seems so odd now that Shieldbow and Kraken Slayer are no longer mythics, so your choices are Gale
Your
Force
choices
for
are
mobility, Infinity
mobility.
Edge to hit harder, and Quick Blade for
And
more
then-
abilities.
yeah.
It seems
That-
like it seems like they actually had a certain serenity to how it was balanced before. Now you just got a bunch of random shit.
Yeah. So now what you have, right, is ability haste, which most ADCs don't want, versus theoretically more damage in the Infinity Edge versus lots more damage in the Gwynsu's. Versus mobility. Yeah, this is strange.
Worst design since
Dude,
the
these are
durability
strange.
update.
Yeah, man.
What?
I don't know. Sometimes it seems like they're going in the right direction and they just mess it up on these big updates.
That's the point. They want to. The more they mess it up, the more things and rationale they have to make changes for the next 6 months until preseason. Then we'll get the next crazy ass shakeup. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Dude. That's the
So
whole
who do you think
point.
is going to use this as their mythic? MF? Ezreal?
Shit. Yeah, Ezreal maybe because you no longer have to crit to get the cooldown reduction like you used
Yeah.
to. So yeah, Ezreal, Graves, Lucian, all of them.
Misfortune?
Those three get reduced on their dash for hitting stuff.
Yeah.
Misfortune, probably not.
You don't think she's going to take this? She's going to take more lethality?
Yeah, she'll probably take one of the new lethality ones.
Yeah, I could see it. I
Her
could see it.
ultimate's more powerful with a ton of lethality versus a ton of crit.
Yeah, I could see her going either way, but I would lean towards lethality now that you mention it, yeah. Who else is going to bring this? Xayah? No, Zaya's probably going to want the Gwynsu's, right?
Of course, she's a hyper carry.
Yeah. Yeah. Zaya's actually, I think, going to be hurt a lot by the fact that she can't build the damage mythic and this.
When you're spitting magic damage arrows like or feathers like no tomorrow, I think you're gonna find you're in a pretty good spot.
Perhaps.
I'm Kale.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah,
Kale is the hope of any AD carry.
This is kind of a weird one. I don't hate that they made this one into a mythic. But again, it really takes a lot of the ability to kind of express your choices through your late game items away from you. Because it's not like a lot of champions can say, oh, the game is going this way. Let me build the Navori Quickblades as my mythic. There's none of that. So yeah, the more I think about it, the more I don't like it.
Yep. Head scratcher.
A little bit. A little bit.
Okay, let's go down to Oracle
Oracle
Lens. I like this. Look at this Noon Quiver. They deranked so many mythics. They had to concede the fact that you can build this into 12 things now.
I'm surprised they didn't have that be like the one thing that also built into Rageblade.
It doesn't.
Yeah. I thought they'd be like, this would be the only item it'll build into now. A Rageblade. Alright.
Okay, we got the good old Oracle Lens. Didn't they just change this like 2 weeks ago too? Let's see.
I don't
smaller.
remember whether they changed this a couple weeks ago, but I hate this.
So
I hate this.
you get 2
This
charges.
is the
but
worst
they're not as
change they've
good.
made this entire patch. This is a quality of life nerf.
You're out of
How
your
often do you see those in games? A quality of life nerf.
You're out of your goddamn mind.
Every single time.
Stuff I brought up was way more impactful.
Every single time that you use your Oracle Lens, you're not going to know exactly how far you have to stand away from where you think they warded to actually reveal it. It'll be somewhere between 600 and 750 based on your level.
Oh, okay.
Really, they couldn't
Okay.
just make it a flat 700?
You're saying because everyone is so accustomed to how long it is that it's kind of going to
Yeah.
fuck with your
I'm
mind.
not saying you can't change it. I'm saying don't change it every level of every game.
Oh, you're right. You
You
know,
should know how far you have to stand away from something to sweep it, to
I-
know if it's there.
I actually agree with you. That is an actual relevant gripe that you just have there.
That is a quality of life nerf. And if you're listening to this and you made this change, shame on you. You suck.
Personally, I don't even like Oracle Lens because I like making more wards, not less counter vision. So I never really care
I don't
for
mind so much that they, I don't mind so much that they're trying to get rid of a little bit of vision denial and push you towards more vision in general. That's fine. But the fact that they have the range change at every level is idiotic. I also don't like that they reduced the duration to 6.
Better find
If
it
they're
awfully
gonna do
quick.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. Like when you have like a slow auto attack champion, like you're flinging like a Soraka banana at it or something, and then it just times out right before you can hit like the last thing, and you have to just like ping. Okay, the ward is here, and I wasn't able to clear it.
Well, wait a minute. Isn't when you reveal it with the lens, it like marks it for a few seconds so you can finish it off?
No, at least it times out at some point, but I think it times out pretty quickly if your lens finishes. I would like them to give you another like 2 or 3 seconds if you've revealed it with the lens, and then it'll be fun. Either way, yeah. If you're ever designing a game and you have some type of like important distance from a tool that every champion or character in your game is going to use, never ever do something like this where you're having it scale based on level or change throughout a 40-minute game.
Well, boo-hoo.
Okay? For any game design enthusiasts out there, take an example here of what not to do.
Okay, next up we got Phantom Dancer, which probably makes sense that it would have been built out of the Hearthbone Axe because it's supposed to be all about movement speed. So I think I actually like that it's built out of that now. You don't really
this
see
is
the
fine.
item. It's kind of the go-to item that you replace your boots with because it gives the most movement speed.
I don't know. I see a reasonable number of champs who want like ADCs and even like fighters who want to chase you down, build stuff like this.
Yeah. Has AD now on it, which was something that was missing for a long time. I think that's one of the most important things.
Yeah, and I think giving it a little bit of extra attack speed is not a bad change. I like this.
Next up, we got Prowler's Claw.
It does cost 200 gold more now, so is that actually a little bit of a nerf?
Yeah, it's okay.
Alright.
Okay, now Prowler's Claw, instead of giving its own effect, which was a bit on the cheesy side, yet nonetheless wasn't that popular for some reason. Probably because Duskblade was just too broken for too long. Now, whenever you use one of your mobility spells, you get essentially the old Duskblade effect, but except no invisibility. So they kind of took off that, slapped it on here. It's stronger though than it was on Duskblade, but now no invisibility. Yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. I think the old one was probably better.
So this no longer gives you a dash, does it?
No, and that was kind of the ultra cheese lord attraction
point,
of
right?
this item. Yeah.
Yeah. It was almost like a hex, the Hextech rocket belt for assassins.
Am I smoking dank, or is this no longer a mythic too?
This is no longer a mythic.
Oh, okay. That's cute.
Yeah. I don't have strong opinions on this. They got rid of like the biggest part of what you got it for. Now it just deals a little bit extra damage once per assassination attempt.
Well, if it doesn't have to be your mythic, that's fine. That's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, now what's its purpose really? Just more AD and more lethality?
That's what you want.
Because the extra damage on your next auto is not that great. The slow's okay. You can slow them for you can essentially immobilize them for half a second.
Cooldown's pretty generous, and you don't have to lose vision of someone to reactivate it like Duskblade.
Yeah, an interesting item.
Okie dokie. Next
It'll
up,
find its way into 80 assassin kits.
Next up, one of my favorite changes of this patch is the change to Radiant Virtue. It's no longer a mythic, so you can stomach actually getting it over Jak'Shoz or Heartsteel without wanting to throw up. But it did take a little bit of a hit in terms of its overall power. But the beauty of this is now you can buy it on Shen, and it's cool. Here's the thing: the way it works is the effect only begins at the end of an ultimate. It only works on ultimates. It only works if the ultimate is a channeled ability. Radiant Virtue only activates at the end of a channel, like Fiddlesticks or Shen. So when you show up, then you won't waste any heal where you were. It'll all go to where you're going. So.
And if you're using this on Fiddlesticks, you're an idiot.
I'm just saying channeled ultimates.
Right. I think Shen's the only one that's relevant, though, right?
I'm sure there's a few I'm not thinking of. It's not just... he's not the only tanky person that this will be good on now that you don't have to sacrifice your mythic anymore.
All right, so I have some bad news for you. I think this is still a mythic.
It is?
Yeah.
That can't be.
And do you see that it's no longer a mythic here? Do you see new and old?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe it... Huh. Maybe I looked at this a few days ago and it was. They did make it not a mythic anymore.
Yeah, I think in the last few patches where they've given this item gigantic buffs,
well, fuck
it's
it
now
sucks,
a reasonable item to bring on tanky supports as well as top lane Shen and maybe Cho'Gath.
Well, now I'm really mad because I liked building this and Redemption on Shen because it's hilarious.
Redemption's not a mythic.
I know, but I could get if this weren't a mythic, you could have gotten them both.
Redemption's not a mythic. You can still get them both.
What I'm saying is you have to buy this in place of an actual good mythic.
Oh, you can get this and a mythic is what you want.
That's what I thought. That's why I thought it wasn't a mythic anymore because basically the whole thing took a hit. How is this better? They just made it dirt cheap. It still sucks.
Use ability haste.
I guess it's a support item.
Yeah, the ability becomes a little bit better. You can heal your allies a little bit more, about 8% more than you could before with this item. In return, you are losing tankiness for yourself and 10 ability haste, but 500 gold less is not to be sneezed at.
Oh, how sad.
That's significant.
I was so excited.
So I think tank supports will have an easier time building this. I still think top lane Shen and maybe Cho'Gath, if he's going to be team fighting a lot, have some business using this.
I swear to God, they made it not a mythic like a few days ago when I read this too.
I don't think so, because I looked at this 5 or 6 days ago, and I don't remember thinking, oh, it's no longer a mythic. Anyway, still a mythic.
Yeah, but you
Don't
didn't
listen to
you
Chris
didn't
Tracy.
realize that Kraken Slayer wasn't a mythic either. Okay, next up we got Death Cap, which got a little boost, and mages are going to need some help to catch up in the magic department now that all these 80 carries going to be slinging some serious magical
We're doing
shit.
more magic damage than the mages are.
You're actually right. They're gonna. There's very few mages that are gonna be able to match the level of DPS being chucked around now.
Yeah, I mean, ever since the durability update, mages, most of the mages, except for battle mages or ones that could do percent max health, have struggled in one way or another, and they've gotten little buffs here and there. This is another one that should be nice for a lot of the mages in the game. Rapidons is an item you actually don't see as often as you might expect for such a high AP and such a powerful passive as this.
You know, it's funny you mention that. I actually kind of like to
Seems a lot of-
defy convention and actually buy this first or second on some champs.
Yeah, well, that's just mathematically incorrect.
Actually,
the
it
only
is
tempo-
mathematically correct because it's the single fastest power spike in the game if you get it quick.
Right, but most of its ability is enhancing the other AP items you've already bought, which in your case is 0 or 1.
But can you tell me another AP item in the game you can buy that gives you like 180 AP right away? I think not.
I mean, no, but is that a bigger power spike than 40% magic penetration?
Really depends on who you're playing, and I think
Mhm.
if you're, especially on supports, I think it's most powerful.
Is
Like-
that a bigger power spike than being able to do, 25% of the opponent's max health over time with Leandries?
25%.
I mean,
think
yeah,
Leandries
if you
is one of the
use
biggest trap
DOT and
items in the
procs
game.
on them like 11 times. Yeah.
I don't think you're wrong to sit on like the lost chapter part just for the
Uh-huh.
mana and stuff, but I think if you're like rich as all get out, I think rushing this is very underutilized.
There's one champion in the game I buy this on as a first or second item. You want to guess who it is?
For me, it's Vladimir.
Okay. For me, it's Vagar, because you can actually enhance other AP that he's earned through his stacks.
That's true. For Vladimir, instantly works with his passive, so you instantly give yourself like 400 health.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, a lot of like high-level players, I do not see build this. I usually see them go more penetration,
Yep.
or kind of like on proc damage instead.
that makes sense with all
That's
the pen
always-
that's in the game now.
Yeah, it still always surprised me because this seems like it's such a gigantic stack of stats if you already have a lot of AP.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess giving it a little boost, we might see it a little more. I got to take a 5-minute break.
5-minute break, huh?
Yeah, you can filibuster if you want, or just pause the recording. It's not like we're streaming live.
Okay, next up we have Rage Knife, which is the Harbinger of Doom that will build into Rage Blade now. And you might be thinking, oh, Chris doesn't have any AD on it like the argument you made for the other things. Well, contraire, for Jin, this will give him AD, and the bonus magic damage to start with might as well be for the early game, so it won't be a big deal. And
Yeah,
it's
see,
not going to be so much together with Lethal Tempo that it'll matter.
Yeah, see, this is counterplay, right? Because you can see your opponent building the ridiculously OP, Rage Blade, at least 4 or 5 minutes before they get to it.
And then it won't matter because you can't build 400 armor and MR.
And even if you could, they're attacking you so fast, you can't do anything about it.
The only thing it's really missing is
um,
sustain, but doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I guess for some of the junglers that would make it a worse build path, but for like ADCs and whatever, it won't matter. Do you think there's anything of significance to talk about with converting the critical strike chance into on hit, where you now just get a flat on hit bonus magic damage?
Didn't I cover that for like an hour up top?
Oh, I just mean with Rage Knife in particular.
Well, it doesn't even do that. It only gives you like attack speed. You have to finish it for that.
Right. I'm saying it no longer converts it like it used to.
Oh, I don't think that matters.
You don't think that matters? Okay, let's move on then.
One thing I'd also like to say, at the beginning of this year, they made a change in the preseason where lifesteal benefits from the damage from on-hit effects. So that might come into play at some point during this silliness. Because for all of League of Legends history, lifesteal you didn't get lifesteal from like the damage of like Nashor's Tooth and stuff.
Well, didn't they also make it so the lifesteal also procs on like physical abilities or something weird like that?
Definitely not. Not unless it's otherwise stated specifically to
Oh,
do so.
is it the magic? Is it okay? Is it the magic damage from auto attacks and on procs now that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That wasn't such a big thing in the past, where the on hit champions were just the ones that wanted to deal a lot of damage really quickly. But now it'll help you sustain too. On all of these ADCs that are going to be, according to you at least, and I have to agree. You've convinced me. Going to be building the Rage Blade every game.
Can't see why they wouldn't with the other crazy choices. It's going to be Rage Blade, or someone's going to report you because you didn't build it.
Somebody's going to report you anyway. Like, can't do anything about it.
True that. Okay, next up we got Rapid Fire Cannon, number 3 of the Doom build. Because now it also has attack damage, still has critical strike chance. They increased the on-hit magic damage of the energized effect. And maybe it lost a little bit of attack speed, but I don't think that's going to matter.
We're doomed!
And in the past, Rapid Fire Cannon has always stacked with Storm Razor, and before Storm Razor, Rapid Fire Cannon always stacked with Static Shiv, so I'm under the assumption that all of these things are still always going to stack still until they change it.
Okay, so you get more AD, less attack speed. It costs a lot more. And they're making it so you can't first build this because the energized damage is pretty low. Do you think there are any users that are come in or out of this item based on the fact that you're getting AD instead of attack speed now?
To be honest, I think the popularity of this item had been going down for the last couple years because it didn't have any AD on it, and they went out of their way to make a bunch of critical strike items that gave AD instead of just coming out of the Zeal items for the most part. So it was waning in popularity for a long time. In fact, Caitlyn and Jhin are basically the only people that even take this like in the modern era, and even them don't even really want it that much. So now that it has AD now,
I almost always see them buy it still. But yeah, they're really the only two like ADCs that I can think of that really get a lot of benefit from one big auto attack at higher range. Because most of the other ADCs, once you make that one big auto attack, like, you want to keep firing. And you're not going to be able to because it was only that first one that gave you the bonus range. If anything, I would think that the better way around this item, rather than giving you one auto attack worth of 150 bonus range, is just giving you maybe like 25, maybe 40 extra attack range on every auto. So this would be the item you build if you want a little bit more range, versus some of the others that would give you more damage, more speed, or more safety.
Permanent range would be busted.
Not if it's less than 50, I think.
Less than 50, it wouldn't even be worth getting.
It would be worth getting.
Less than 50? That would suck.
Yep. 40 extra auto attack range permanently? Wouldn't be nice?
It would be nice. It'd only be really leverageable on like Caitlyn.
There's between like Sivir and Vayne.
Both of them have very short attack speed. It would only be good on someone whose range is already very good. And that's only like Varus, Ashe, and Caitlyn.
I think it could actually do a lot to cover for the weaknesses of champs that have shorter auto ranges.
It would be nice on Graves.
Yeah, it certainly would be. All right. So yeah, you don't think this is actually going to change the users or
Oh no,
the
this.
dynamics of rapid fire too much?
Oh no, if people catch on to my Doom build, it's going to see a huge surge in popularity because it's the
You think it's
five.
going to see a big surge
It's
just for
yeah,
the on hit?
it's the 5-way. It's the 5-part build of my Doom build. Number
Is
3.
Master Yi going to buy this?
Only if he wants to do a lot of magic damage. He could, I
So
guess.
his first auto will be from like 200 range.
It does work with melee champions, just kind of silly.
Yeah. Oh, but it's 35% bonus range, so he doesn't have much to start with. Okay. Yeah. Hard to say on this one.
Now that you'll have people building this in conjunction with Ginsu's, the energized
Are there
effect
really
will
no
come up
better
faster.
items than rapid fire to put on your regular on hit build?
Oh no, we're gonna come down to Static Shiv and Storm Razor too.
All right.
Okay, we got Recurve Bow. What do you know? It does magic damage now too. Go figure. Okay, next up we got Redemption. They made it a little better. Or at least the heal is stronger. No more ability haste. Oh man, that really breaks my heart.
Yeah, Redemption no longer gives you ability haste.
I was always building this on Shen.
Yeah, this is really the kind of item that had no particular niche in the game.
Oh, it's fun.
It was like, do you want to use, some, zone that people can run into or out of? Okay, I guess you buy Redemption. I know that you would use it as you were coming down as Shen.
I know, it's
you would
awesome.
Use it as you were ulting them.
And not to mention, it does that 10% max health true damage to enemies, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, enemies are going to be running out of it pretty easily. But if there's a really savage fight that they need to be in, like, yeah, they'll end up taking the damage there.
One time,
I almost never see this item built.
I killed a bard with this item once.
I mean, killing a bard is always nice.
He was recalling, and I let his recall almost finish, timed it just right, sniped him with it.
You ever see the ace in the hole that traveled across the entire map because somebody finished the recall, hit him in the base, and killed him?
I haven't seen that, but that sounds like the way it should work.
Yeah, that was amazing in pro play. They actually like tracked the bullet the whole way there. And then you see the champ take the bullet in the fountain and go down. It was hilarious.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Redemption. I don't know. Like, what stats would you like to see on this item? Let's say you can only put 2 stats in total on this item. What 2 stats should it have?
Only 2? 2's pretty limited.
You only give 2 stats, but you can give it a lot of those 2 stats.
Okay, I get a lot of just 2?
Yeah.
But I still get to keep the active, right?
Yeah, the active is the one thing we're keeping here.
Okay.
Keep it exactly as strong as it is.
Okay,
But we can change.
The hell with the passive. I don't want that either.
Huh?
Okay, what I want.
Yeah.
I want 400 health and 30 ability haste.
You want health and ability haste. So what types of champions is that going to work for?
Or I want 400 health and 20% heal and shield power. I'll settle for either one.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both good on supports. Either one would be good on tanky support, really. So.
I feel like the ability haste is a good place for it, since this really is kind of a specialist item.
I'm just thinking of what would be awesome.
Item that can go on anyone.
That's what I want on Shen, though. So.
Yeah, I don't know what I go for the second stat. Ability power is an interesting one, but yeah, for champs like Shen, that would obviously suck.
Heal and shield power that Shen can get his hands on is fucking broken on his ultimate. It's awesome.
How about this? Ability haste and movement speed. And you give it a hell of a lot of each of those. 30 ability haste.
Dude.
And 12% movement speed.
Dude, I gotta rip my hair out to rationalize building an item with no HP on Shen. That would suck.
Yeah, well, this is not just a Shen item, Chrissy.
No, I think it is kind of a tank support item. Sort of. I don't think you can not get health on it. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, with heal and shield power, tank supports don't, with the exception of Braum, tank supports don't heal or shield.
Be honest, I'd rather have it old stats. I'd lose the 50 health if I could have the haste and the heal and shield power. So that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, and you know, if you're a tank item, you know, using a full item slot as well as, you know, 2300 gold for 250 health or 200 health, either one, and that's the only tank stat you're getting, like, it's just
For a long
seems like
time, I was rushing this on Shen first, and you can get this in like 8 minutes, or 7 or 8 minutes. With a solo laner, you can buy this hella fast, and it's hella funny to make. To make these super early game plays with Redemption, it just feels so much fun. Because everyone's like, whoa, you got it so fast. It's like, whoa. It's like a power spike people aren't used to seeing because not only is the item not super popular.
not only because nobody built it, but
Yeah.
if they build it like fourth.
Yeah. Or it's
Yeah,
only built on supports who don't build it nearly as fast.
I,
That's why it's so much
I have
fun.
a hard time justifying this item on anyone, and that includes the old stats and that includes the new stats,
Nah, it's good.
which I think are even worse than the old stats because we're losing the 15 ability haste.
It's awesome on Shen because not only do they get the shield, but then you heal them through the shield before the shield goes down.
Yeah, of
So
course.
it's-
You know, the one energy tank in the game, Shen, probably is better off with a little more health and no ability haste.
50's not so much. I'd rather have the 15 ability haste, just for more ultimate.
How many times do you think you've said the word Shen throughout this video?
Really, I was only getting orgasmic about Redemption and what I thought Radiant Virtue was becoming a legendary. Now I'm
I think you may
really,
have said it 20 times during Virtue alone.
I was really upset because I was really looking forward to being able to still get Heartsteel, and then watch the synergy of Heartsteel make Radiant Virtue's active effect way better.
It's cute that you think you can have good things from League.
I just want to enjoy my boy while I can before they make him like, I don't know, an assassin or something. You know, gotta enjoy the good things while they last.
Alright, Runons.
Okay, now you might be thinking that this would fit into the Doom build, but actually no, because on-hit effects don't apply on the secondary bolts. Only like your attack damage does. If they did though, we might have to give it an honorable mention into the Doom build, but for now it doesn't fit in there. It just gives like, I don't know. They made it more expensive. Does it have ADs? No, this actually still is the holdout. This one does not have AD yet, so no Doom build possibilities because it doesn't
I
have
have some
attack
bad news
damage.
for you, Chrissy.
What's that?
Basic attacks on attack fire additional bolts at up to 2 enemies in front of you, each dealing 50% AD physical damage. Bolts apply on hit effects at 100% effectiveness and are affected by critical strike modifiers.
Well, that's funny. I swear I didn't do that. But it still doesn't fit into the Doom build because it doesn't give AD, which means you'd be giving up something. The
I don't know.
the rest of the Doom build, you don't have to give up AD and you still get your crit. That's why
Yeah.
that's good.
But I think there's going to be a lot of people like building that Rage Blade. Maybe not the ADs you're thinking of in the Doom build that really want the AD, but the ones that already like synergized well with on hits. Even something like a Kog'Maw, that are going to start building the Doom build and then include something like this instead of maybe Rapid Fire Cannon.
You could do that, but then you'd have less
Yeah.
attack damage, so then you'd be
But
giving up more
Yeah.
of your regular stat line without getting all the free magic damage.
yeah, but I don't know how much you're actually going to be dealing in AD, like straight up attack damage, like regular auto attack damage now. When the on hits, I think might be doing more damage than the AD itself.
I would say that was the true, but every item in the Doom build still gives attack damage. That's why it's
Sure.
special.
But like one of them, for example, is getting 15% attack speed. If you can do 25% more on hits, for a lot of champs, that'll be worth it. I'm not saying every champ is going to build this over, your Doom build. But I'm saying we'll see it on some of them.
Well, we'll just have to see how many months it takes for the Koreans to figure out my Doom build.
Yeah, and then when Soraka is doing her thing by chain healing with the so-called cool new Moonstone Renewer, right? All you got to do is fire one auto attack with Runons, and everybody there is dead. Her, the person
Uh,
she was healing, and the person the heal was chaining to.
I think that'll be much more of an immediate and obvious hit with Soraka. It might take some people a while to realize how they can leverage her ultimate's range with the person she's technically the closest to before you can do some real funny stuff. That'll take some practice.
Yeah. Now looking at the changes themselves rather than just how it fits into the Doom build, we have slightly less attack speed, but not significantly less. We get 30 new bonus magic damage on hit with every hit, and a higher AD ratio on Wind's Fury.
Yeah.
This is a buff. Even though it costs a little bit more, this is a buff.
Yes. It is a buff.
All right. I think we're gonna see this probably half the time in the Doom build, would be my guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he might be underestimating the unappealing nature of building critical strike items in the modern era that don't have attack damage.
With that AD. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
People have really moved on from those old school Zeal items that don't give AD. You know?
Yeah, but that's because it was a world that wasn't based around on hits.
True that.
And it was a world that I think I liked more.
I'm sure Twitch will still rather have this instead of rapid fire cannon.
Oh yeah. Twitch, Kagi, Ash.
Okay, next up we got Shirelia's. Let's see, is this thing still garbage? Yes, it is still garbage.
I don't think it's garbage.
It is garbage.
Actually, like, how does bonus movement speed work? Can they stack? If you have two different movement bonuses, do they stack on each other, or does it take the highest amount like it does for slows?
Doesn't take the highest amount, it's multiplicative.
Okay, so it does stack.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't think that Shirelia sucks. I see a lot of champs, even that shouldn't be bring it, because it could be such a good get out of jail free card. If you're like a squishy support that gets caught.
That's true. I just don't feel like it does enough to be a mythic.
Yeah, it's right on that line. The movement speed for your team is really nice. And I actually didn't realize that when you heal, shield, or buff a champ that you also give them movement speed. So they actually buffed that part of it, and 25% is nothing to sneeze at. As you're trying to help someone escape, you and them get extra movement speed. That's not bad. Also pretty good for chases.
I don't even remember getting that ability.
Yeah, I didn't know that it had it either. But apparently it does.
Okay.
And I know we've been doing the patch notes, it must have had it the whole time because we never talked about this.
Okay, that's slightly better than I thought it was.
Yeah, it's really not a bad item. It can keep you safe in a lot of different ways. It can keep your allies safe in a few different ways.
I think it's the same argument that we made for Locket, though. You know, why can't we get Locket?
Well, Locket sucks. Locket is like a 300 shield, right? 300 shield is nothing compared to getting your teammate out of range where they can avoid 2 or 3 hits. This is just a better item than Locket.
It is better. I just don't know when you would want this over the other more impactful support mythics.
Yeah, I think if you're a champ that can't use one of the other, like, when you do this, you get this type of support items well, that's where this becomes a good option. Because it doesn't require you to really do anything, you just get the free get out of jail free card.
Okay, next up we got the Staff of Flowing Water, which should really build into an even better item, but it does not.
I think Staff of Flowing Water needs to be a little bit better,
yes.
Right? It's supposed to be the mages or AP supportive version of Ardent Censer. So if you have like a strong mage on your team, or you have multiple mages on your team, you could build this. The thing is, 40 ability power is nothing compared to 30% attack speed. It's just not enough power that's on this.
Yeah, I look at
It's
it
just
as
not
like
enough
Hex
power.
Drinker or Haunting guys before they
Yeah.
turned into Leanders and Maw. That's what I feel that this is. And I hope it turns into like the staff of like super crazy flowing water eventually, because it sucks.
Super crazy flowing water.
Yeah, they can just make it the staff of divine water or whatever gay shit they come up with. I don't know.
Yeah, really, I don't know. I think all they need to do is make it maybe a percentage ability power boost instead of flat.
That would be good. Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. Even just making it like extreme ability haste and getting rid of the ability power. Giving a mage 50 ability haste or something like that could be pretty crazy and could actually make this worthwhile in a lot of games. Um, they're not doing any of that. They're just basically giving you 5% extra movement speed and taking away a little bit of ability power. This is a buff considering that it's also cheaper. But really only in the games where you are like a defensive enchanter and you have 2 or more fed mages on your team is this a good item. That's like 1%, 2% of games. And if you find yourself in that situation, buy the item. It's not bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next up,
Otherwise, don't buy the item.
we got Static Shiv, which is number 4 in the Doom build, and multiple people must have worked on this. Multiple people must have worked on this patch, because if it was the same person, they would have just given this a new name, like they did with the Fiends.
I think this item has been removed and then added back into the game at least twice, maybe 3 times.
Twice, I think. Yeah.
Twice, yeah.
But
and it keeps dying and coming back. It's the scion of item.
Like all the other items in the Doom build, it has attack damage, and not just a little bit, actually a decent amount. It is expensive, but it is the Doom build. And unlike before when it used to be in the game, the on-hit magic damage it does when it's stacked up actually scales with AP. I'm surprised they weren't extra crazy and made it have an AD ratio like Kraken Slayer. And if that wasn't enough, the bounces a million times. Hella crazy.
Yeah, so just as a little bit of history, Static Shiv used to be in the game as a wave clear tool for ADCs.
No damage
A lot
either.
of ADCs in the game, especially at that time, had no good way to wave clear. And this is what an ADC would opt into if you didn't have a good wave clear mage on your team. Someone like a Ziggs or I think Ahri at the time was really good wave clear. Anyway. Yeah. I was expecting when I saw the patch notes this to be, again, a tool for an ADC to opt into if they want to either like clear waves safely and be able to get back before they can get ganked by the enemy team, or do a lot of split pushing, or just defensive wave clearing near the end of the game if really you don't have anyone else on your team to do it. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. This is going to be in the Doom build, and it's not even going to be like something that you have to choose, I want wave clear or I want tons of champion damage. It's just going to be part of the Doom build where you're doing tons of champion damage. Oof.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Okay, next up we got Sterix. I think this is merely a reversion of the effect it used to have. I think it already gave you...
It used to have tenacity? I know it had size.
Pretty sure it used to have both of these a long time ago.
Okay.
And then they took it away, now they gave it back. And then rounding out the Doom build is number 5, Storm Razor. And they were stupid enough to give this a flat 80 ratio, exactly like Kraken Slayer, which is just going to make this the icing on the cake. In fact, you would probably give this 3rd instead of 5th because Kraken Slayer has the ratio too. I just call it 5th because that was the order on the list. But the fact that this comes with a flat amount, also has like 55 AD, also scales with a huge percent of your total AD, also scales with AP twice as much as Nasser's, just like Kraken. I mean, it just stop me anytime. It's fucking bonkers.
Okay, I'll stop you because I think there's a counter argument. You're naming a lot of items that only have 15% attack speed in this on-hit Doom build. And I think that a lot of champions are not going to be able to get their attack speed up enough to
Lethal
where the
tempo.
on hit can kill an enemy before the enemy can kill them until they're at like 5 items.
You're always going to have lethal tempo. You're always going to have berserker greaves. You're always going to be stacking Ginsus with the attack speed that it gets now from stacking.
How much does Gwynsus give you again?
Like, it's like 50 something.
No, yeah, that's a lot. Yeah. Okay. Doom build it is. Yeah.
Every fucking ARAM I get a ranged person, I'm just going to go the Doom build instead of whatever they're supposed to be building.
Well, I certainly hope that you're building the Runons in ARAM.
Nah, no AD.
All right, you're a troll.
Maybe it was Twitch. Well, that's the Doom build, folks. You get extra rich, you can sell your boots, get Phantom Dancer, then you'll have 100% crit. Otherwise, the Doom build caps out at 80%.
Seems like they buffed this item pretty hard too. Not only do you get 10 more AD, but the attack damage that you get on the on that fully energized stack is I would say considerably higher than it used to be.
Oh yeah.
Right? If you're talking a 250 AD champ, that's about 190 to 200 damage that you're doing instead of 120 at full build.
Much better.
Yeah. And so now you're granting movement speed to yourself instead of slowing an enemy. How does that factor in?
More auto attacks. You got to keep up. More autos.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost like, remember how you had to choose before between mobility, damage, and protection? Well, here's the mobility you get now. You don't even need Gale Force.
Faster you attack, the more you stack Energize, and you also stack Energize by just moving too. So you'll probably be able to do an Energize attack like every 5 seconds.
This patch is like the Monty Hall for ADCs. Like here, you had to pick between doors number 1, 2, and 3. Nah, just have all of them.
Everyone is Kale. It's that simple.
Oh my god, everyone is Kale.
Except Kale didn't usually get a lot of critical strikes, so
even
everyone
Charlie
is Kale.
Even Charlie Hesbo is Kale.
Okay.
And remember, everyone is Charlie Hesbo.
Next up, we got Stride Breaker, the least popular of like the fighter mythics, I'd say, but gets a little juicy buff here, 10 extra damage. That's always nice. Divine Sunder is just too good in slot to like get on Ella pretty much anything else.
This is an item that has fallen hard out of favor ever since they changed the active on it.
It's still good. It's just only good on a handful of Cheese Lords.
Yeah, and even most of them are not in meta right now.
Okay, next up we got the Collector, and it's already a very popular item.
Oh, this is the most frustrating item in the game.
I like it. It's not that bad.
Oh
the only thing I hate about it...
Boom, you get collected.
Oh, it's a pretty low threshold. The only thing I hate about it is when you mouse over it, it doesn't tell you how much gold you've made from it over the course of the whole game. It's a huge oversight.
Yeah, it's a low threshold, but if you have a nice shield, like, it just goes right through it.
Well, then you would have been lower than that point before the shield hit, right?
I suppose so, but if you're about to use the shield...
Well, don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, if you're about to use the shield, it doesn't give you the chance, you just get collected instead. Anyway, yeah, they buffed the lethality on this pretty big. Like, 12 to 18 is, that's huge.
Yep, and it was already very popular, so...
Mm-hmm.
For 80 carries, assassins, and the like, plus a couple other niche people would throw this in there, just because the effect is cool.
For sure. I think a lot of people... And this is a very greedy item, right? We talked about how nobody builds items for your team. This is an item that takes from your team, right? Well, like, if somebody else was about to get the kill, no, you get it instead. You're the collector.
Well, if you're a carry, it's kind of warranted, you know?
Yeah, no, I get that. I get the intention behind it. But even the carries that are way behind and, suck at the game will still buy this so they can steal the kill from you.
Yep. Okay,
It
next up
feels unwarranted.
we
To me.
got Trinity Force. Yeah, I don't
Mhm.
know. It's already really good. Next up we got Trinity Force. You know, it is the only lethality item that gives critical strike too. So that is interesting. It could use some on-hit magic damage. What do you think?
So you can work it into your Doom build.
No attack speed though. I guess it
I
doesn't
mean, it
work.
does give a lot of AD. I know you like that.
All the other Doom items have attack speed, crit, and AD. So
Yeah, good old 0% attack speed item in the on-hit build. Gotta love your theory crafting.
it's mostly a joke. Next up, we got Trinity Force, a little bit of extra AD, a little bit more attack speed, and longer before the scaling stats on the item fall off. Which I guess is just a nice quality of life change.
Yeah, I would say that's a nice quality of life change, but you know, the stat boosts are significant here, given that they're not making it any more expensive. Um, yeah, do you feel like they needed to do this in order to bring it in line with Divine Sunder? I
Mm,
know that it's a slightly different set of champs, but you know, as far as just overall power.
I think Trinity Force is just not very popular, to be honest. So
Yeah, I mean, what do you think is crowding it out? Is it the Divine Sunder?
I think what's
Is it
crowding
the, is it the Heartsteel?
I think what's crowding it out is the fact that not only does it not give any resistances, but the Sheen effect, all it does is do more damage, whereas
Mm,
other Sheen effects have more utility, whether that's a slow, whether that's a heal, whether that's more
true.
mana. So
Yeah,
it's an item that just gives more damage, but in a less significant way. It's just not as appealing, you know.
yeah. That's a good theory. I like that. All right, this is an interesting change.
The turbo thing.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I haven't seen one person buy this since it stopped being a mythic. So, yeah. Good luck with that. This is the thing that Righteous Glory used to be before they took that out of the game and replaced it and name swapped it with this. So, guess they're trying to make it more relevant. If they want to make it more relevant, they should give it like 20 more MR.
Sorry, I thought we were talking about the Wardstone.
I was talking about the turbo.
The Turbo Chem Tank?
That's right.
Oh, okay. No, I wasn't talking about that. That's not in the patch notes. Yeah, I guess we haven't seen much of the Turbo. Yeah, there's really just a couple champs that build that.
Okay, now we'll talk about the Wardstone. Probably
Hmm.
the most underused item in the entire game next to the turbo. Mostly because it's so convoluted to even get your
Don't
damn
forget the
hands on it.
locket.
No, I think I've seen more people with Locket than have finished this item.
Oh, they're trolls. I actually buy this sometimes. You know, because you do want, as a support, you do want to have your control wards in the late game when the next fight is going to determine the game. When you get to like 39, 42 minutes, and being able to catch one person out means everything, and not getting caught out also means everything.
Yeah, this is a
You
pro
know,
scene item.
yes, of course, vision is the most important. The higher you climb. But yeah, I mean, good supports buy this as a final item.
Yeah, that's the problem with it. Is just takes too long to come online.
Sure, but it's fine as a final item, and the fact that now they're increasing your attack stats, your health, and your ability haste by 20% instead of 12. I think that's enough to push this up into like every support should buy this in every long game where they're running out of inventory space.
I might agree with you if it was like
Huh?
30%, and then you got to choose one of those four instead of just getting all of them by 20. I think that would be better.
Sure, but usually you're going to be building at least two of these.
Yeah, just feels awkward.
Yeah.
But it's better than
Um,
it was, so there's that.
Right. Now, did anything about the wards change? I'm looking. I don't think so. You still get the higher control word cap on the map. You still get to hold 3. Yeah, they just took a couple stats away from it. They gave it more health, which is useful. I think they just completely made this item better
Yep.
and pushed it to the point where if you are running out of inventory space as a support, buy this, get all the stats, keep buying the control words for your team. There's almost no excuse to not do that in a long game. Yeah.
Okay, coming to the final end here. We got some price
Oh,
foolery.
it costs a lot more gold, though. I'm sorry. It costs 1,200 more gold. They did not make this item better. It costs 1,200 extra gold to buy this.
Oh well.
Yeah, okay, so only if you're running out of inventory space and running out of gold as a support should you buy this. That's unfortunate. I thought they just made it better.
Okay.
Oh, well.
We'll skip over this Wits End change, and then we'll get to the new Yumu's Ghostblade, which I'm pretty happy with, and this is the one I think will be the new Duskblade. I think it'll be the most bought assassin mythic now. Even better than the new Duskblade, which I still think is pretty good, but I think this one is even more consistently powerful than that is. And now, this item is actually pretty interesting now, whereas before it was kind of just something you threw in your build because it had the right stats. Now, not only does it give the bonus movement speed, but now it also functions like Dead Man's Pants too, where when you're running around you generate the little stacks and move fast. But then the big thing is the huge bonus of lethality you get when you've reached your max stats. And then the huge thing to take away from this is that you keep the lethality for 3 seconds upon entering combat, which pretty much guarantees you'll get your entire kit off within the duration of keeping the lethality, which I think is just going to maintain a trade pattern, which is going to make this the best in slot for the mythic for assassins going forward. And then the fact that it gives you a nice chunk for synergies go bonus attack damage is just nice.
All right.
And
so I basically didn't understand or listen to anything you said after you said the words "Dead Man's Pants."
Whatever the hell it's called.
Dead Man's Plate, but I'm with you. That should be called Dead Man's Pants. That would be an amazing name for an item. This really feels to me mostly like it's just kind of like a stack of stats for assassins. It doesn't do anything fancy.
That's all they want.
Yeah. Maybe it helps you get away if you can make the initial kind of leap away after you, take down your target. Maybe, especially if you can do it with, oh no, Duskblade is also a mythic, right? So you can't buy them both. But, yeah, I think this is basically just a stack of stats. I agree with you that it's such a good stack of stats that it might be what assassins take most of the time. It's not very fancy.
Doesn't need to be, and it's not going to be.
Lethality is really nice, and the fact that it gives you 7 bonus attack damage for every legendary item, whereas even the so-called stack of stats in Infinity Edge only gives you 5, just shows you this is a very powerful stat set.
Yep, it's not going to be about being defensive. It's going to be about getting your kit off within the 3-second window, so you get all of the lethality.
Yeah, and I guess the you still have an active that you can use, so the movement speed, even if the Dead Man's Pants fall off after you do the damage to the target, you can always use your active to get away if you didn't need it to get in. Yep. One weird thing, the math isn't mathing here. We have 1 bonus movement speed for every 4 shards, up to 40 bonus movement speed with 100 shards. If you're getting 1 bonus movement speed for every 4 shards, it should be 25 at 100. Do you have any idea which part is wrong?
It probably really is 40 bonus movement speed, because Dead Man's Plate is also 40 when it's stacked.
So do you think it's 1 bonus movement speed per 2.5 shards?
I don't know what it is, but that's not really the important part, because you'll quickly generate that when you're running around.
Okay, so you think it will be 40 and not 25 bonus movement speed?
It'll certainly be 40.
Okay. Yeah, that's not insignificant.
It's going to particularly be good in the jungle for Rengar and Kha'Zix too.
Yeah, and being able to get an extra, let's say 15 to 20 lethality, once you have this, in addition to 18 lethality that you already have, just based from the item, in addition to any armor pen you have from your items. Jeez. And the just all of the AD this is providing. You know, if you have 4 legendary items, it's 88 AD on this one item.
Yep.
That's the most in the game, right? I don't think anything else offers more than that, mythic or non.
I think if Ornn upgrades your Infinity Edge, it gives 95.
Okay, but if Ornn upgrades this, it gives 103.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
I
yeah.
think this is going to be one of the most snowbally items in the game if it's built really quickly, just by the insane amount of lethality you'll be able to generate very fast.
I don't like that they made a stack of stats assassin items. I feel like assassin should have to use a little more finesse.
Man, that ain't about it, man.
Many years ago, they reworked a lot of champions like Akali, Katarina, Talon, who were basically just do a lot of damage at once to require some finesse from their play. I thought that was a really good change. It allowed them to be more useful in long fights.
Damn it,
If
that's
they
when I was good at Talon.
could-
That's the last time I was good at Talon.
Haven't been good since.
It's too gay. It's too
Not
complicated.
enough of a high damage slob
Ah.
anymore for you. I see.
I don't like doing all the jumping on the walls shit. It's too dumb.
Yeah, well, you know, fat slobs aren't good at parkour, I guess. But yeah, no, seriously, like this seems to be like a little bit of an insult to that initiative that I liked very much that they took years ago. And I hope that they nerf or rework this.
But wait a minute, Jason. You got to be conscious of your shard count. That's like 4 brain cells, right?
Right, yeah. Because the shard count is going to matter so much here. What can I say, man? You know, the Ornn upgrade with 26 lethality with a bonus of 20 lethality, that is sick.
One thing I'd like to say is just like Dead Man's Plate, taking damage isn't going to reset your stacks on this item. Only doing damage resets the
Dealing
stacks
damage,
on this
well,
item.
right.
So
if you get hit while you're coming in, you can still get the effect off.
which means if the big brain players will purposely like move around a little bit more if they know they're close to getting 100, so they know to only blow their kit when they have the extra lethality.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
I like it. Youmuu's was
Uh,
boring before.
I always liked the concept of Yomus, but I don't know. It kind of lost me when they turned it into an assassin item rather than like a fighter item.
It always
which I
had
think it
armor
was back
pen.
in the day. And then
It always had armor pen going back like 10
it
years.
always had armor pen, but I think like fighters used armor pen more back in those days, right? Didn't it also have health on it back in the day?
Well, it was built out of that item called Brutalizer, which was built
Uh-huh.
into more off-tank items back then.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of lost me when they turned it into like a full assassin item, but this version, which is just a big stack of lethality stats, I don't like it. I didn't give it something with some more finesse.
Well, then you can use one of the other assassin mythics that are new now.
That's true.
Okay, next up we got Zeal.
Mm-hmm.
They really should have put damage on this. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you know, then they probably would have taken something else out of its build path, you know, to get to the all the other 80 items that are in your crazy build.
Call it crazy now. It'll be so mainstream. People will be like, "Why did you cost us the game by not doing that?"
This is a slight nerf to Zeal, but it seems like most of the items that it builds into got buffed, so who cares?
Yep. Okay. Next up, we got Zeke's, the younger brother of Knight's Vow, that I don't think is good.
Yeah,
It's not as good, but it is still good.
I will say, remember, like, when I was talking about, like, different, the champs that would gain a lot from being able to, slow or immobilize an enemy champion and then have your ally follow up. This is where this is going to fit in. I could see a lot of champs at support going something like Athene's Unholy Grail 2, aka Echoes of Helia, into Imperial Mandate, into Zeke's Convergence.
That sounds like something I'd come up with.
Yeah, and basically, yeah, just a lot of the same thing. That's definitely a lot of the same type of effect. That's definitely something you'd come up with. Yeah. And I respect it, right? That's a fun kind of synergy. I could see this being good on those champs. I don't know that the stat line or the effect are big enough to justify it in a lot of places. But if you're already like working around trying to pair up with an ally, especially if you have a Callista on your team, where like you're both trying to hit the same.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
What?
You have a support that does those three things with an 80 carry that's going the Doom build.
Yeah, right.
Then it's just more Doom build.
It is some crazy on hit against enemy champions.
That's Doom build 6 and 7.
Doom build 6 and 7 is the support items.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really do think that that Zeke's Convergence, not because of the fact that they just buffed it a little. Well, did they buff it? It's.
We'll have to play a game together where we do the Doom. Well, we'll have to do a Doom build game together where we do all the Doom stuff.
We got to do it against the Doom bots of Doom too. See who's doomier. Yeah, the weird thing about that is that about the build that I just mentioned is that a lot of the champs that would want to use like Echoes of Helia and Imperial Mandate probably don't want a stat like armor as much as they want a stat like ability haste. So it's weird they took the ability haste down here, but I still think in combination with those two items, especially since Imperial Mandate is not a mythic anymore, and you can get the mythic power from the Echoes of Helia. Yeah, I think it'll fit in well there.
Stop calling it that.
Too much else.
Athenes.
You know what? This would still be pretty good on the Leonas and the Brahms of the world. You know, along with like Even Shroud as well. I shouldn't discount that. So this really has kind of two different ways it can go now.
You would need to play a support that can build the 3 support Doomy items, and that can also has a way of triggering Zeke's though.
Right, and there's lots of you know, support champs that can do that. Lulu, Karma, Braum, Soraka, Leona.
Oh, dude, that's Doom number 8. I forgot about Ardent Censor. That's on him.
You know, at some point, they're gonna be dead before the 8th Doom can even hit them.
I forgot that item does on hit magic damage too. So there's 5 Doom items with the 80 carry, and now there's 3 Doom items for the support.
Oh my god, world of unhits. I do honestly think Kog'Maw is going to be like a surprisingly great champion in this batch.
Am I wrong for thinking all this is an unbelievable synergy?
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I just see it as being a little bit where we differ is you see it as being focused as the regular classic ADCs become on-hit champs. I see this as something that more strengthens the on-hit champs more than the classic ADCs.
Well, of course, that's true.
The shade in which I think that's the shade in which we differ.
No, I totally agree with you. It's going to make make the on-hit ones, of course, better. That wasn't my argument. It's going to give all the others that don't do that are going to be just as good.
I think the Kog'Maws, the Callistas, maybe the Ezreals of the world are going to become a lot better on this batch. To the point where they might even outshadow, you know, some of those, you know, Doomy champions you mentioned, like Chin.
Ezreal, definitely not.
Maybe not, but I could kind of see it.
He might as well go AP if he's going to try to do that.
Uh-huh. Alright, but definitely those other two.
Kalista is not really an on-hit champion. She just builds a lot of attack speed, but I don't think she'll be bad to do it, though.
Yeah, I think she's about to become an on-hit champion.
I think they
And
all
to
are.
some extent, she is because her rend is based on how many on hits you've had. You know what I mean? How many hits?
Well, technically, yeah.
Uh, yeah. I don't know. Who do you think is the single biggest winner and the single biggest loser of this patch? It can be a class if you really wanted to, but
I
if
already
you could say
told
one,
you, Jin is
you
definitely,
think it's Jin.
yeah.
I'm gonna say I think it's Kag'Maw.
Uh, Neither of them will be in a bad place, that's for sure.
Right, that is
Of,
for sure.
of course, Kog'Maw is going to be redonkulous. He's good now
Yeah.
with the on-hit stuff.
Who do you think is the single biggest loser of this patch? That might be harder.
Well, a lot of change, about like a good chunk of the champions aren't really affected by these changes because it only changed the assassin and AD items for the most part,
Right.
and some
Is it
support stuff too.
Malphite?
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be tanks.
Would he be the single biggest loser? Right? Because like a tank like Galio or Dr. Mundo might actually see an advantage from this.
Old Mundo, Rammus
Uh,
is going to not be in a good spot.
Rammus is a really good one as well, right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm so clever. I'm gonna taunt you. Oh no, you're doing 3,000 damage per taunted auto attack hit.
Well,
Yeah, Rammus and Malphite I think might be the two biggest losers.
any of like the big time tanks like Ornn or Cho'Gath are going to not feel as good because they're going to like being able to leverage just armor or just MR, and now that's not going to
Yeah.
matter anymore.
Now you just can't do that. You can't do that against an ADC unless they're just not building the Doom build.
I feel like in a lot of ways I feel like portions of the Doom build are impossible to not build, you know?
Yeah, why can't we get an item that on mages that converts all our damage to physical?
Particularly Kraken Slayer, I feel like they made that so incredibly busted. I mean, like, how do you, even if you're not trying to do the Doom build, how do you give up that much free shit with how crazy the ratio is on that thing?
I'm shrugging my shoulders right now. I know you can't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is I don't even want to say a brave new world. It seems like just a cheesy new world that we're heading into here.
Well, it's like all 80 carry builds. It's going to take a little while to come online, but it is going to be hilarious very quickly when those items, get purchased.
So to sum up with the items, like I thought of 5 different like general goals they might have when they're doing like a major item rework.
Oh, I have no idea.
So one is the splash between different classes, like tanks and fighters was a big problem in the durability update. Did they succeed in reducing the splash? I think that remains to be seen. I think that if it goes down the track where all different classes, not just the ADCs, are doing the Doom build, you can say they definitely failed in reducing splash. Having one item crowd out another, I think they completely failed on that. We now have basically every mythic in the game where a mythic in its class has been reworked in this patch. Something has been crowded out. Complete failure on that account. You have items where like one particular champ makes the item much more valuable than for all other champs. That's a design flaw that they often try to work around. I don't think this patch really did anything either way for that. Yeah. You have the problem where different items for different games versus sometimes the build diversity becomes so stale because a champ has an inflexible build. Do you think that they improved that at all? Like inflexible builds?
Here's what I know, and I don't
Yeah.
I don't use these words lightly. The combination of 80 carry mythics they chose to demote to legendaries and the ones they decided to promote to mythics is
Yeah.
some of the most incompetent balanced decision decisions I've ever seen in the 14 years I've been playing this game.
Yeah, I have to agree there. And the fifth thing I was going to say was a class being, just not feeling good. In this case, I think that they succeeded in making the support items feel better.
Yes,
But
those are
I
cool.
agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you on that last point. Like the fact that they seem to have really decayed and reduced a very good aspect of the game, which was the decision making that you have to make between your different mythic items. I think the ADC choice was like the paragon of that decision making, and that's gone now. A lot of the other classes still have it, or at least never had it. Like mages have never had it. It's basically just like, do you have a DOT or do you have a burst? But yeah, for some of the classes, like tanks and ADCs, that used to have that interesting choice, they no longer have it. There's just better items and worse items now. And so I have to agree with you. On that level, this item rework is a failure. Or at least looks like one. Let's see what actually happens over the next few chapters.
You want to talk about a complete fucking failure? You should see what they're trying to do with the Ivern rework. That was actually going to be part of this patch. They pushed it to next patch, though.
I did see that.
What an embarrassment. Absolute stupidity.
They just made them terrible, doesn't it?
The embarrassing thing is how they made no... They didn't make anything better. I mean,
yeah,
what's different? They didn't shift his power in any meaningful way. It's even worse than...
a little bit better, and then they made every other part of him worse.
It's worse than Yumi's. At least Yumi's, they hyper-focused on her attaching to an AD carry. On this, there's no direct... I won't... Well, okay, we'll wait till next patch, because I'm sure they won't have it remedied by then. It sucked.
Right.
It's
I'm
so
sure
bad.
You're not going to be giving it the same 9 out of 10 that you gave to the ASOL rework.
That one was fucking... That one was brilliant.
Problematic.
I know you didn't like it because of the Stardust, but man, everyone loves it, and I love it. It's tough to play against.
That. Most people I just hear complain like crazy when they get into a game with ASOL.
Yeah, it is.
Either they're complaining about their ASOL, or they're complaining about the fact that the ASOL just 1v4'd them, even though they were succeeding all game.
Yeah, he can be tough to play against when he gets ahead.
Yeah,
but a lot of mages you can say that about.
Like if you're in another lane, you have no agency over that game.
There's other mages that are really strong when they're ahead, though, so I'm not too upset.
One last thing we need to talk about is the teleport change.
Well, you talk about it.
Okay. So they are partially walking back the idea of teleport versus unleash teleport. You get to 10 minutes, you can now teleport to any minion, any ward, whatever, join a fight, or just find an advantageous place on the map. And once it's an unleashed teleport, we also have a fixed 240-second cooldown. What that means is that your top laners and mid laners, if they bring TP, will be a lot less stingy about using the tool to join your fights, especially early on in the game. And I'm all here for that. I like that one.
I'm kind of mixed feelings on it. In one way, I like the playmaking ability of teleport, but in another way, it can be kind of annoying to play around too.
Yeah, I mean, almost any cool ability in the game, right, will have its annoyances if you're on the other side of it.
Tends to amplify the backdoor shenanigans.
Backdooring before 14 minutes? Oh, you're talking about because of the reduced cooldown.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh god, that's the worst feeling, right? When you're just coming back as a team, you finally killed a few people in their team, you're making your push, and then, oh shit, there's a Nasus in my base.
Yep. Or anything.
Yeah, pretty much. The Nexus doesn't really have a lot of durability.
Alright. That does it for 13.10, 3 hours and 18 minutes later. I can't believe I actually thought we'd finish this in an hour and a half.
I couldn't believe that you thought that either. You were saying that before we started, and I was like, you're crazy.
Well, the durability update, which also took us 3 hours, that is my second most watched video, so maybe there's something perverse about long videos that people find kind of attractive. I don't know.
I guess we'll find out if people want to watch this 3 hour, epic.
Also, as a last note, if that Ivern rework was on this patch, it was so embarrassing I would not have replaced the splash art with Ivern. I would have kept Nico.
Oh god, I'm sure you would have spent another 54 minutes complaining about that. We could have made 4 hours.
Honestly, I actually wouldn't have too much to say because they took no chances and didn't do anything interesting. It's just barely a shakeup of his current numbers. It's embarrassing. They didn't try to address anything, and he's been a ghost for like years.
Yeah, that one looks really disappointing, but I guess we'll bring our seething rage to you guys in 1311.
All right. See you later, guys.